Do it. Do it.
I'm gonna get real weird with it.
A little much.
Hit it. Well put. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah!
Oh, hello. I'm Mikey from JMK Custom Works. This is our third episode of Couple of Kooks. I'm Mikey. This is John. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We had a little difficulty picking a day for this one. Huh, Pop?
Yeah, we moved it a couple of times.
We knew we wanted to do another one. We just didn't know when. Our schedules happened to fall available on this weekend. We got Cliff's in the house. Good morning, sir. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you
Morning.
greatly. Cliff's got another batch of heads for me to paint, so we're looking forward to that. I think he's real close to completing the entire Predator cast, I think.
I think so.
And Mom's up this morning. Good morning, Mom. Love you. So we decided to do this episode on kit bashing, as it's kind of the gateway drug to full-on customizing. It's something you can do without paints or sculpting, and just kind of get right into it. Renee's here. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Hey,
yeah.
So I was going to say something about kit bashing.
Okay.
So it's been around a long time. In the 50s, people were modeling trains and modeling cars, and especially in the cars, the companies went pretty crazy. Plastic was cheap, and so you could buy these kits of just wheels, tires, engines, chrome accessories and stuff, decal packages, and that was kind of became a normal thing. Like everybody knew when you bought like an old Johan kit of a 62 Oldsmobile, you get all these custom pieces. And as petroleum went up, they kind of cut back on that. In the 70s, train building was a pretty big thing. So people would buy model trains, and they wouldn't have all the pieces they need, or they needed a certain tanker version, different engine, locomotive with different parts on it, and they would buy other parts. It really didn't have a name until about 1973, and I think it was a model railroading magazine had a deal about, hey, check out this newest kit bash. And what he had done is he had bought two different units, two different models, and built him an engine, a locomotive out of that, and that was the centerpiece of the model railroader, magazine that year or that month. And it went on when I was a kid building car models. You go and you get like good old Roadrunner from Revell, and you see there's no the only wheel option are these Magnum 500s, is what you call them, and these hideous slotted wheels that really they didn't even use in 1970. It almost looks right, but it's just not quite right. So what you could do,
like the top wheels with the
they're
the slotted top
70s
wheels.
top wheels. What you could do is you could run up to Walmart or wherever your store was, and Revell also had the Challenger TA. Now this is a reissue. There's been like a bunch of reissues of these two kits, but the Street Burners or some that came out later. This particular Street Burner kit didn't have a lot of options, but what it did have was rally wheels. So you would literally buy this model kit just to bash out the wheels. So that's what you did. I mean, that's what everybody. I mean, it was a common practice for anybody that built model kits, especially muscle cars, because of the wheel stripe and like spoiler options. You know, people they buy different kits. The hoods were different. The heavy Chevy from Monogram was a popular kit. People bought it all the time as a 70 Chevelle. And it was a great kit. The proportions were good. The mold lines weren't bad on it at all. People would buy it. And then they would buy other kits to put a different engine in it or to do different things because it was a almost perfect Chevelle kit. And that went on, and people did that even when I was younger. You know, I would do that with Star Wars guys. You know, once you learned how to get them hot, you could pop their joints out and change their arms or change their legs or their heads or whatever. And you know, I still have some of my original Star Wars guys that I painted with oil-based model paint. I had no idea what that was going to do to the rubbery arms, but you know, they I don't know if I have one back here or not. I don't think I do. But even then, we were kit bashing. People were kit bashing. When GI Joes came out, you could take them apart. Kit bashing was pretty popular. You may be like, well, you know, I really kind of want Breaker to have longer arm or longer sleeves. So you'd buy a figure that had long sleeves and you put it on there. And when the colors matched, it was a very simple kit bash. Now I've been talking about trains and cars and Star Wars guys and even GI Joes. And a lot of that is really difficult to do a true custom. I mean, you literally were just kit bashing things. So that was why when we were talking about doing some kit bashing, video about kit bashing, I thought it would be fun because I've been doing that since I was young. I mean, since the first Star Wars movie came out, and those toys were widely available. My cousin had some Micronauts figures, and they are, I know people don't realize this, but they were pretty much the original O-ring construction. So, you know, it was pretty common with the Micronauts. I wanted a guy with blue arms and chest with red legs, and I would just take them apart and swap them out. Simple kit bash, but I had a totally different character now. So that I did a lot of that. The Mego figures, the Chips, and a lot of the TV shows had O-ring figures. So once that happened, and you know, GI Joes came out, and then the swivel arm battle grip came out, and then it was like, oh, I can actually put swivel arms on this guy, you know. So I remember when Breaker came out, and I was done with, I was done with 5 POA figures. All my Star Wars guys went away, and so O-rings made that happen, and then when swivel arm came out, that made that happen with all the straight arm stuff I had. So I thought it'd be fun to do this because we do this kind of stuff all the time.
Very cool. Patrick Stralco's in the house. Good morning, sir. Appreciate the post this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick.
Always good to see you in the chat. Son of a Crayon Slayer's here. Guten Morgen, Danke. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you've been doing it for many moons.
I have. And you know, when you were a kid, I remember having just boxes of GI Joe's O-ring figures, and you would just take them apart, put them together.
Oh,
it was fun. When 12-inch figures, you know, became popular, and you could find the stuff cheap and easy again everywhere. We had, if I said we had 50 1/6 scale figures, I would probably be undercutting that a little bit.
Oh, that's a conservative estimate.
we would go to flea markets and find a guy that's like, oh, that guy's got an M4 we could use. Oh, that guy's got the AK we need, and we would buy a $5 guy at those stores just to get that. And then there's literally in the basement here, I have a box, a tub of bodies that we deemed substandard. So it's just a tub of
the evolution of the 12
figures
scale
with no head
in the wake.
Yeah, we even there were several of the Hall of Fame GI Joes that had really good head sculpts. Roadblock, the basic infantry basic training Roadblock is one of them. That head sculpt is good,
That's the
And
one that just came with pants, boots, and a gun,
yeah,
right? He had the
the t-shirt,
green
yeah.
camo on his face and his chest. Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, that's a solid head sculpt.
it is a good head sculpt, especially for a big, bulky dude. It looks really good. In fact, my Sideshow custom of Roadblock has that head.
It's a great
I made
name.
it. I made it fit a Sideshow neck post. So it's just a matter of that's where it starts. That's where customizing starts. Is basic kit bashing. So
And 12-inch Joes are completely kit bash. I mean, very rarely did we introduce paints, and the first one I can really think of would have been your Firefly, where you use the Scorpion from the Mortal Kombat 12-inch line and painted that head, and that one still sticks with me.
yeah, there's some 12-inch Mortal Kombat collectors out there that would be pretty disappointed to hear that I painted up every Scorpion head I had.
Yeah, but they weren't worth anything at the time. It's like,
They
when
weren't.
people talk about
They
stuff
were
they did
cheap.
to cars in the 70s, like, "You did what to a '69 RSSS Camaro? You did what?" And it's like, yeah,
Yeah,
it wasn't worth any. I mean, it was just a car. It
yeah,
was just a toy.
yeah, and that's how we viewed it, because like I said, in my head, with each iteration of a toy that came out, when they improved upon the articulation, to me, the old articulation was almost something I didn't even want to mess with anymore. And as GI Joe started out with the rubber armed Hall of Fame, and then Hasbro in the UK developed a more articulated body for it, still with the muscle proportions. Instantly, you and I were trying to get Action Man stuff from England. I had a buddy over there that was sending me stuff, and we were buying Action Man stuff all the time, just for an abundance of bodies, because here most of the bodies were still the rubber arm stuff. So we'd buy that for the accessories and the clothing, and then we'd get one of the newer figures, and and even with GI Joe, when they came out with their new 12-inch classic design, it was replaced by the super articulated, which to me still to this day is one of the perfect toy bodies.
Yeah.
And and I say that because I say toy, because to even now, I would not be afraid to hand a kid one of the 12-inch SAs and let them go to town with the clothing box, and
Sure.
just build what they wanted. They were sturdy. Hasbro did some amazing engineering on those, and they still had the same neck attachment as everything they'd ever made
Yeah, it
from
just had
Hall
a
of Fame on.
had a ball on the bottom now. It just had a little more range, but the
Yeah,
attachment point was the same.
so you could pop a head off of that Roadblock and put it on whatever the new SA body they had. So
But if you were using a blue box or a Dragon, you're gonna have to deal, especially with Dragon, you're gonna have to deal with some brittle plastic. That stuff was
right.
not durable. It wasn't intended to be, but it was not durable. But yeah, that Hasbro body, man, you could beat the crap out of it. You could pull
Right.
boots off the feet all day and not have to worry about an ankle snap.
Dragon really approached 12-inch 1/6 scale as like, hey, we build models, we build model kits, we can make a figure the same way, and that's what they did. So it was very brittle ABS plastic. It wasn't. It was brittle. There were they came out with a nude. They called him Adam,
Adam.
and they had him in a couple of different skin tones. It was really funny because they actually put like a little leaf sticker over his privates. And there were no privates. It was, so those figures were super brittle. They really weren't very. They were very posable, very articulate, and that's why Blue Box was able to overcome them so fast. Is because Blue Box came out with a little more muscular, a little more durable body, a little taller than GI Joe. GI Joes were more designed to be the average man at about 5'10", and whereas Blue Box and Dragon were going with 6 foot as the standard. It's not a lot, but it's enough that you could tell when you stood the figures up, which made it fun to kit bash because you had all these figures that were all different heights and size.
You really built the dynamic of the team. Physical stature and loadouts. Everything was customizable and kit bashable, to be on topic.
Right, 21st Century, when they first came out, they were very much a copy of Hasbro's GI Joe, but when they did their own body, it was nuts. almost to
yeah,
the
that
point
thing
that
had all kinds of range of motion. 'Cause
it
it had the
did.
chest where it was beveled in, so you could tactically grip a firearm. That was man, they blew some stuff out of it. It took them a few years to run through because those first ones where they were just one figure and a ton of accessories. I'm thinking of that Mike Force one,
Hmm.
like the first one. We called it Puddinhead, had a big, big square head.
Yeah, the basic training guys.
Yeah, man, they had so much cool stuff, and they just kept getting better too. I mean, that was in the days where Toys R Us was a blast to go to because we were so heavily into 12-inch, and everybody had so much stuff available. I mean, the only thing that you couldn't get, was Action Man. You had the guy in England
And that even started
Dragon.
showing up at Walmart, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's see, we got a couple people rolling in. Dash, good morning, sir. Good to
Morning,
see you.
Dash.
Thanks for being here. And Alex, morning, guys. We'll catch the replay. Appreciate that, sir. Have a great day as well. Yeah, so yeah, we've been kit bashing for a while, but this new line, we've kind of fallen into the enjoyment of using the classified series stuff.
We have. I'm not a purist in any way. When I think about a real American hero, I was a comic book guy, not a cartoon guy. In my house, it was hard to catch the cartoon whenever it was on. Just I was of the generation where you probably need to be outside until it turns dark. Put on a jacket. You're not gonna sit in the house and watch TV. And the only way I got away with comics is because I was doing research, I was reading for a paper or something. But a buddy at school, he had a subscription to the comic, and we'd sit there at lunch, and me and a couple other guys, and we would just read the comic and just look forward to it every month. And I thought the story was great, and that was even before we found out who Snake Eyes, his origin and all that. And it was just good. The art was decent, and the covers always looked exciting. So I was a comic guy, and to me, I'm still very much that. I don't the cartoon stuff is, it's just different to me. It was just a different medium to fall in love with. And I have, as you know, every iteration of G.I. Joe, I'm in. Like Valor versus Venom, Spy Troops, didn't matter. Sigma 6. I love the idea of taking a future concept with G.I. Joe. I always thought that was cool. Because
It's something that's been there since the beginning. And I know we like to look at it as a military toy line, and roots it is, but as far as a real American hero, it's always had a foot in the science fiction. I mean, right off the bat, you had Flash, you had the Hal, you had jetpacks, and I mean, right from the get go, there was some imagination already being used, while also looking, like the GI Joe creators. We've heard them talk about it. They were looking at weapons that were brand new. They were coming out. Nothing had happened yet. I mean, L85s and stuff like that. I mean, they were ahead even for current military. So it's always been a part of it.
That's true, and really, that is one difference I will say between Palitoy's Action Man in the 70s and Hasbro's G.I. Joe was they shared a lot of tooling, a lot of common parts, but Action Man embraced the science fiction element. They had an entire line with an alien enemy, Zargon. I mean, they had space adventure. They went all in, and they had space 50 style space weapons, and I mean they really they really put it on the edge there. So it's really for 12-inch, even going back before Real American Hero. That was always something. You look at Action Team, like they pretty much abandoned most of the military concept and went with more, adventure stuff, like hunting and taking pictures and adventuring just in general. And while they were doing that, Action Man was like, well, we're just going to go to space. So, I mean, everybody had a different way of dealing with the the military sentiment that was going on in the country at the time.
Sure.
But and that was one of the cool things when A Real American Hero came out. They kind of embraced all of that. And you were talking about Action Force and the first 5PLA line, the Action Man line. They, their assault trooper, which had been in a different figure in the 12-inch scale, that was kind of supposed to be a future soldier, for England. And so they carried that. They were doing the L85 before it was an L85. Still had a wooden stock. I mean, they were using that prototype version of their rifle. They used it on the 12-inch figures and they used it on the mobiles.
Yeah.
So, got a couple more coming in.
Yeah, we got JLS. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Appreciate you being here. Biff Jocko. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, sir. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. So yeah, I've always appreciated that, but stuff like we talk about you and I have talked about, the movie really like forcing in the science fiction fantasy aspect of it. And while I like the idea of it, I've never been a big fan of that part of the movie. Really, the movie, the best part is the intro for me. But the Cobra Law and stuff, I never got into, and I think that's because I remember us going to GI Joe shows, and you'd pick you get me a couple comic books, and and then I'd get to play in parts bins and stuff. But I remember the first one I got was Special Missions 1, and I remember picking that one out, and you being like, yeah, that's a good one. And so that side of it's always been. So I think I grew up with a little more allegiance to the classic Cobra style. And then we started adding aliens. I'm almost to the camp where I want those to be a separate faction. Like, it's something that both G.I. Joe and Cobra have to deal with. And I guess it kind of was to a certain aspect. And honestly, I think that's what I appreciate about one of the things that I appreciate about Callsign Longbow to tie in a side project here, is because you have the multiple factions. Factions aren't changing, but you're introducing a new villain for both sides, really, right, into the lore. And I appreciate that, and I think that's kind of partially because of the Cobra Law stuff. Is I always thought that should be something else. Like, both of them should be fighting these ancient alien creatures.
Right. And for us, when Troy and I started it, we wanted it to be Cold War, 1985, 1986 time frame. And we didn't want to mess with that. That was what we wanted. We wanted a Russian helicopter. We wanted a Russian tank because we never got that stuff. We wanted Russian officers and troopers. We never got that stuff with A Real American Hero. So that was stuff we really wanted to do, but we also recognized that some of the best stuff, the most interesting stuff that A Real American Hero did was right on the realm of science fiction. So instead of trying to straddle the line and have two different timelines or have stuff that doesn't make sense, we introduced a super mysterious faction that has gear and weapons that are a little more advanced than what we're used to. It'll add to the mystery of it. How are these guys so advanced? What makes them so different? Are they aliens? Are they from the future? What are they? And that makes it a separate faction, and it makes it relatable to just normal people. Like, it would be weird if all of a sudden you said, hey, in 1985, the G.I. Joe team had this alien helping them. Where did that come from?
Right.
Or Cobra was able to have a mutant army. What? It started out as like a simple special forces versus terrorist thing, and now we're dealing with, Cobra Law. So we thought it would be more fun to do that kind of stuff with an enemy that has technology we don't understand, we don't know where they're from. So for us, that Steel Web was our way to do that.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I guess for European G.I. Joe Action Force fans, I guess they're probably a little more used to the science fiction being right into it with Kraken and Muton and all that kind of stuff. I guess they're probably a little more used to it than somebody that just grew up with A Real American Hero and a dad who was heavily into that, as well as military technology and such.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
Action Force was, for me, more relatable because the good guys were very military. The bad guys started out as very classic military, and then they grew to this science fiction thing. They did embrace for for the Red Shadows. They did embrace the science fiction aspect of that, but so did Action Force because they had Space Force and they had the Special Weapons Team. They
yeah,
did that too. So it really, I just love the way Action Force handled it.
agreed. Agreed. We got Vishay in the house. Good morning, sir.
Good
You
morning.
and Samantha. So glad to have you here, man. Appreciate you. And follow up, we did.
We did
Dad and
all
I's
right.
birthdays were both 2 weeks ago. So we've, for the last 34 years, I've kind of shared birthday celebrations with this man, and yep, they're usually turn out pretty good. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Lilith's in the house.
Well,
Good evening, from the other side of the world. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. And
what time is it
Master of
there,
Arms.
Lilith?
I like that. I like that
I
handle,
like that
Master of
title
Arms.
just
That's
fine.
nice. Does that make you my Destro? If I'm the president and you're the Master of Arms, like a
Could
Cobra
be.
Commander Destro situation? I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it.
Most likely, Mr. President.
Speaking of handles, you got this Kuko Toy Workshop. What's that all about?
It's an old handle. It's my LLC. There's some projects that I have started kind of working on. It's 12:30.
What a trooper! Thank you so much.
No kidding. Thanks for tuning in. So Kuko Toy Workshop. I don't know how much to divulge here, but a couple of kooks is going to be expanding a little bit. We're going to have a little more fun. We're going to start doing some more customs, and we want to kind of tune in on some stuff that's just ours. And the Kuko Toy Workshop will be kind of our how do I want to say it, the store arm of it, whereas that's where we will commerce. That'll be our commerce arm. So when we get a couple of kooks, the website up and running, we're gonna have you can go into Kuko Toy Workshop and see what we've got there. I really hope you guys will buy our coffee mugs.
Oh yeah, I can't. So we probably won't have it set up to have as good of a uh, platform as my phone, because that's tough to beat. That's kind of the crown jewel of reasons to buy a coffee mug. But maybe you
It
guys.
really is. It really
Yeah,
is.
so we've kind of kicked around the idea of kind of coming up with parts and pieces to do custom builds that we want to do, and we're not really sure where we're the final destination. As Chad likes to say, we've got kind of a 70% solution kind of thing going on here.
We do.
So yeah, so that's something to I hope you all are interested in. I hope you help us build that up and make some cool stuff, man. That's what this
Yeah.
is all about. This is a couple of kooks when we were kicking this idea around. This was kind of our way of seeing if anybody else would be interested in the kind of stuff that we talk about, almost on a daily basis. We come up with these ideas and different projects. And this is kind of my dad's way of advancing the front on that. Is not only can we do it, but maybe you guys would like to as well. So let us know what you think about that. I'd love to hear some ideas or something. If you guys think that's a good idea, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we're thinking a mix of custom things, not just parts and pieces, but also like Mikey and I are each working on some Action Force related classified things, and those things will require special decals. So we would, one thing that maybe we'd offer is a sheet of like a PDF, so you could print it off on decal paper yourself. And because I mean, all of us use the work of others to inspire us and to keep going, especially if we customize things. Mikey and I buy 3D printed heads all the time from like Don Man Studios, Jay's Armory on Etsy. Well, he's on several platforms, so he's got an eBay page too. His stuff, he prints really good stuff, and I get stuff from him pretty often. So not all of it is off the shelf stuff. Sometimes somebody like Don Man might have a just a gorgeous new vest or something that I just can't live without, or I immediately see it and know that's what I want to do with it. And so those guys, and we want to have something kind of like that. And like I said, it might be as simple as decals. So you could, like, if we did a custom had some cool decals on the custom, like a Space Trooper, one of the Star Brigade guys that we've done, something like that, where we put some custom decals. Like maybe you can get those in different colors, just something like that. We are not going to get into the business of making action figures, but what we want to get into the business of is inspiring people to do some of their own work. And so that's kind of what it is. We just want to, like, we do this show to share our knowledge and our random thoughts on toys, but to know that somebody saw something you did and they were, I had on the Star Brigade stuff, got a lot of messages, people like, okay, what exactly did you do? And I was like, well, go to the couple of Kook show where we made them, and you can kind of get a pretty good idea. There's a lot of that, and we both got some ideas for some things we want to do in the future, and that's kind of where it's going. So that's the Kuko Toy Workshop will be where that is. It's going to be something to make people want to build their own things, or JMK Custom Works is always available to put something together for you. So.
That's true. We got a couple people strolling in again. We got Packers is here. Morning, sir. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you, man.
Good morning.
Does it come with hot
the
coffee?
Mug?
Probably not. That I don't know if shipping would be able to handle that task. Shay says he can't wait for the customs. You'll see him, buddy. Appreciate you, man.
You
will. Support you guys. Last time I saw you live, you mentioned Soviet Cold War stuff, and I'm very keen on that. That is definitely something that you're keen on.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And one thing that we don't have any of are cosmonauts. Just saying.
True. Astronauts really in this scale, in 1/12 scale, just not happening yet. I mean, Fresh Monkey Fiction's got that one in the works, and it looks, my God, that looks incredible.
It's beautiful.
But we're going to be waiting several years. Well, not several, a few years before we can, get hands on that. But man, does it look good.
It does. But my thing is that if when I think of military sci-fi, I cannot ever forget the first time I saw the movie Aliens. And when I was introduced to the Colonial Marines, I knew that's what I thought Space Marines should really look like. Nothing against the big armored dudes, because they're awesome. But man, the Colonial Marines and Aliens are top notch. And even if they use the Vietnam era helmets, you can't win them all.
Part of the gun's a Tommy gun. You gotta embrace a little bit of realism tucked in there, right?
That's right.
Cliff, I'm here for you, man. Any of you guys have questions, you can always message me, man. I'll do my best to share the knowledge I've got, whatever I have. Dash. I don't know. Let's see about that. And no, we can't forget about 118 because that was definitely a big part of both of our lives. So
Definitely.
and if you're creating files, you just scale, right? It's just scale, no big deal, no big
It
deal.
is.
We won't forget about 118. That'll never happen.
And Longbow does love our Soviets, so I'm not gonna knock any space figures out of that equation.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So when we were talking about doing this kit bash episode, we kind of talked about narrowing it down to a specific window of figures that doesn't get a lot of love that you and I both have an admiration and appreciation of. And that's the what most people refer to as the Dark Ages. The early aughts, um, Joe versus Cobra, Spy Troops, Valor versus Venom, that genre of GI Joe. And a lot of people discount it right off the bat because it's not the OGs, but man, there were some incredible designs in that time period. So the kit bash customs that we did, we wanted to have them influenced by 2004, 2005 GI Joe representation. So it was anything that came out in those 2 years is kind of what we were shooting for. We both made a handful of them. Dad, you want to kick it off? Show us the first entrance into this. First
Yeah.
submission?
Now I went off of the path a little bit because I wanted to do this. Was the idea here. We had really one rule, and that was you couldn't paint. You could remove paint, but you couldn't paint.
Remove paint. No addition other than what is available on the market, excluding 3D printed stuff.
And so before I dive into it, I'm gonna give you guys a tip, and I'm sure Mikey's given this tip before about paint removal on classified figures. The hard plastic on the chest is tricky. So, and believe it or not, the soft plastic is a lot easier. You need this. Lacquer thinner. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it anywhere that has paint, but you want real lacquer thinner, not the odorless or mixed with mineral spirits or anything. You want real lacquer thinner. And it is super easy with a Q-tip to rub paint off. You will not hurt the rubber. Don't soak it in it. Just nice coats. Wipe it off with a paper towel, and just keep going until if it acts like it's getting a little spongy, just stop for a little bit. When you do the hard plastic, when you're doing the chest piece, just go slow and easy. Wipe it off immediately. All right, just a little damp on your Q-tip, and just slowly rub it out. What you might run into, and this will happen especially with anything with a red dye in it, like my Star Brigade Ozone used the Pimp Daddy Destro body, that burgundy color. It fades out. It pulls the pigment out. When that happens, and that happens if you boil the figures too for boil and pop.
Yeah.
Mineral oil. Just this. You can buy the real expensive stuff, that's fine, but this works really well. And what you do is you just take a Q-tip and you rub that on there and let it set for a little while, sometimes overnight if the color really pulled, and then the next morning just buff it off like wax, and it'll restore most of the color. It'll pull that. Mineral oil also, if you do O-rings, you already know this, or you may know this, but the elbow cracks, if you have a figure that does not have cracks yet, rub a little mineral oil on that elbow joint, because those joints are very prone to cracking. It's not necessarily that the plastic is bad, but it's the pressure of the rivet. So when the rivet goes in, when it's punched in on that elbow, if that arm was a little moved this way or this way when it punched in, it doesn't take much at all, or a little extra pressure went into it, it will eventually crack it. You could have a perfect no cracked elbow figure, take good care of it, keep it out of the sunlight and all that, and then you open your box and it's cracked. It happens. But if you've got, especially if you've got some of the older figures, and rub a little of that mineral oil on the elbow joint and just let it sit. Just leave it on there. It'll soak it into the plastic and it'll restore a lot of the issues with the plastic getting brittle. The mineral oil will absorb into it, and it's a chemical thing. I'm not a chemist, so I don't know how it works, but I know that it does help if you have something like that happening. Also, if you have one that you have a hard joint that looks a little white, like it might crack, rub some mineral oil. The white will probably not go away, but at least you'll know that the plastic is then a little bit restored with its natural oil from the mineral.
Yeah.
So
stay hydrated. It's important.
That's right. So for my first, I agree. The Sky Sweeper was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Pull these up real quick. I have not done any customs on the Delta 17. I try to stay out of the customizing of the O-ring figures. There are guys that do it top notch. So I let Matt LaCroix and the likes do the grunt on that. But I do have one, and man, yeah, it's inspiring if that is your thing. Oh man. And the nice thing about O-ring, because of the hard plastics used, is you can do those with rattle can. That's how Dad and I used to do them back in the day. Tape them to a wire hanger, go out on the back deck, and rattle can them. Whereas the soft plastic, unless you're using like vinyl interior paint, it's a little tricky.
It is, and that's always one of the cool things about O-rings. Hey Matt, good morning, bud. No problem. It's a trick that's been around a while, and it is pretty well known. So this is the Walmart Duke from around 2004, I believe. The proportions on these figures got way out of control, but the look was cool. This is basically their Snake Eyes figure with Duke's head. Pretty simple.
Yeah, straight up. Or maybe it's an unmasked Snake Eyes before the accident.
Yeah, you could use it for that too. So what I did was I built this.
Yeah. Got some use out of the desert Snake Eyes.
I did. And the first time I saw that Snake Eyes, this is exactly what I wanted to do with it. Now, again, in the spirit of kit bashing, the legs are really off color. They're really dark on the desert Snake Eyes. So I jumped into the Steel Brigade. I took his legs. I did.
Pretty good match. That looks that's pretty legit.
It does. The knees are off of the Desert Snake Eyes figure. Oops. And the boots are from that Desert Snake Eyes because I did want it to kind of look like that. I couldn't paint, so there's no silver. Plus, I just think this, in the spirit, this is a pretty good build. It looks cool. I added the goggles because I just thought that made it pop. There's several comics where Duke is inserted somewhere and he's got night vision goggles or an all black suit, and I just kind of thought, well, okay, this is desert night insertion Duke. So there he is.
Yeah, it's legit.
So that is that's my first one.
All right. I'll share mine. Lilith asked if that mineral oil works on the straight arms as well.
Yeah, it's basically the same kind of plastic. Lilith, if you got something that's like showing a little white or you're worried about it cracking, especially elbows, and I have it long-term tested foot pegs, and I would worry that that there could be the mineral oil could eventually mess with the paint, the original paint. So I'd really watch the painted stuff when you're using the mineral. That's why I say the elbows are hardly ever painted. I think Ripcord is one of the few figures that ever got paint on the elbows. Part of his camo pattern moves to the elbows. Most people don't know that because it rubs off extremely well. But if you got a Q-tip or some sort of way to put it in there, if you want to push that into the foot pegs, let it soak up. It'll at least maybe keep you from having one of those weird breakages. I've also used it on Zap chests. Zap has a really bad habit of literally the place in here where the O-ring or the O-ring tube connects just breaks. When I have a Zap apart, I usually rub the inside of it down with mineral oil also.
Solid tip.
This looks like Action Man.
So this is Action Man. Yeah. This was the first one I went into. Always thought this figure was cool. It was a little past my O-ring collecting or purchasing or playing with or whatever. But I really love this figure, and this one came out of this 6-pack.
There it is.
A Night Force 6-pack. And now they use the Flint and the Beachhead when they re-released the Hydrofoil, I believe, is what they came with. But you got Tunnel Rat and a Roadblock and Downtown. And then Action Man, which according to the file card, he was brought in to help him obtain a Cobra threat. But I always thought that is a cool looking figure. Nothing special, but especially now since I'm into the Action Force, the UK stuff, I wanted to do that one. So, and that's using Zartan lowers with, I think, the Python Patrol officer legs, and then just bits and pieces, Duke's head. Yeah, so that's my first one. I'm a big fan of that one. Big fan of that one.
I like that because I wasn't doing a lot of O-ring at that time because it was actually overwhelming.
There's a lot of stuff.
Lilith's right. The desert set was amazing. But I had kind of moved to other things at that time, and I didn't take advantage of a lot of those sets. But man, they looked good. The Imperial Progression or Procession, whichever one it was the red ones. Those were amazing. They did a lot of stuff, but that Action Man. I have a soft spot, obviously, for Action Man. Always have. And the early Action Force stuff was my first foray outside of Star Wars for 5 POA figures.
You had a cousin or something that lived in the UK?
A neighbor. She was from England. Her husband was a retired Air Force. Ended up just down the block from us. We were really good friends with them, and yeah, so she brought me a Assault Trooper, and I knew there had to be more. Assault Trooper, and I think one other figure. I can't remember if it was trying to remember. I think it was the one that looks like the classic paratrooper with the camo top and the brown legs, the beret.
From the first wave. Is that the first wave that had the paratrooper in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
Yeah.
Tony's Figs in the house. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Tony.
Thank you, sir.
He does all right, doesn't he?
Never got him here. Had to import him. Wallet really hated me. Plus side, my postman got to know me. Hey, there you go. Yeah, I can only imagine. It sucks for us. I can't imagine going to the complete opposite end. That would worth it. They are badass figures. So good.
They are. But you know that's reverse of that for the action force stuff. You know when I was trying to get that stuff and trying to build up some of my collection, there weren't a lot of collectors here that were willing to share. You know, so you know some of that stuff you really ended up paying some serious import fees and stuff for them. Sometimes paying a little more than even the Action Man stuff we got from England. We would put them in great big boxes and send them over, so we would just get all of it at once. You know.
Yeah.
So
Pretty cool.
all
All right, what's your next? What's your next?
What's your next one? I see it there.
My next one. My next one is 2005 direct-to-consumer barrel roll. I love this design. So this is this version, which is the first version, if I'm not mistaken. And then it went to the Spy Troops with the jetpack apparatus, the dark or the blue, or it was, maybe that one was first. I'm not sure.
That was first.
That one was first. So this one was the direct consumer line. This is my favorite version of it because that is a very tactical looking figure.
It is very tactical. You know, the direct-to-consumer line. What happened was, you know, earlier I was talking about Spy Troops of Valor versus Venom, how the proportions got way out of skew. I mean, their arms were too long, and their chests were too wide. I mean, and it wasn't every figure. They weren't using a standard buck, so every sculptor just kind of did what they wanted to do.
Right.
But what ended up happening was Hasbro was learning from that, and by the time the direct-to-consumer thing happened, they had kind of narrowed down. If you look at those figures, most of them are very, very similar in proportion and look. They had kind of weaned back. Even the scrap iron from that wave has a very normalized version. So that's what you're looking at there.
Yeah. So yeah, this one's just a kit bash of that. Obviously, you could do better if you did paints and stuff, but since this was the challenge, so to speak, this is what I came up with. So it's spirit legs matched the dusty torso really well, and then just kit him out. Easy peasy, man. I mean, the only thing that's tricky with the classified stuff is the vests and plate carriers and stuff they don't attach like the the modern 4-inch stuff or like the Valaverse that has the pegs. So you do have to heat them up and then just kind of work them off or work them on.
It can be done. You just have to go slow.
Yep. Go slow. And I found that when you paint, because I paint the torsos and then I'll put these plate carriers and vests and stuff like that on, and I'll use a small Ziploc bag, something like that, and I'll cut the zipper part off, and then I'll put the torso in the bag, and then kind of hold the top of it while I slide that vest on, and then I can pull the bag out, and it's helping with rubbing paint off as you force that piece of plastic over the painted torso. So there's a little tip for you.
A little tip.
So there's a kit bashed barrel roll. Dad and I have always been a big fan of, honestly, the three siblings. It's a really cool new idea they had with barrel roll, bomb strike, and blackout was the Cobra Sniper. All three really cool designed figures, new ideas, new characters, and the family dynamic added something extra to it. I thought it was really a really fresh, cool idea they did, and all three of those characters are still pretty cool to me. I mean, I've got plans to do a blackout and a bomb strike for sure.
Yeah, I've got a blackout going myself. My biggest thing with it is trying to decide if I want to go with the Valor versus Venom Spy Troops look, or if I want to go with the newer one they did for the 25th, or the mail-ins, the FSS stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's always hard to always hard to do, you know.
Definitely.
All right, hold on here. Let me pull up my next fancy thing. In the meantime, I'm going to skip to another part of that era. I should have taken pictures of my figures because holding them up is silly. But
It just doesn't. The camera doesn't focus on it so well. It's really hard to get it to.
right. Hold on here.
Impossible Pie, thanks for being here, man. Have you guys ever tried to make a custom ghillie suit? Never tried to make a custom one because it seems like every scale we've always had one. I remember 12-inch we had that Marine Recon Sniper. They came out in the classic line, and you know, with the 3 3/4 stuff, you had Crosshair came with that really rad one, as Lilith pointed out earlier. That got used for so many other figures. I mean, I guess even kind of Ambush had that, not really a ghillie suit, but that netting. And now, you know, you've got Valaverse has one it's pretty legit. That thing's pretty gnarly. And then we'll get that other one with the 60th another a Marine Sniper, which is super cool. So I've never tried to make one. They've always just kind of been available.
Yeah, and also the 12-inch line had a beautiful one that it was actually two colors. But again,
oh yeah, and the later stuff around this same time, the Valor versus Venom stuff, they had that one. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they did. And that came on several figures. I believe it came on. They did a heavy duty and a grunt that both had that gear. I'm seeing if I had one here, but I don't see one. But it's a pretty nice ghillie suit, and it's honestly it would take a little work, but it's not that difficult. Everyone that Hasbro did from that era on was basically, yeah, Lilith. They did. It was awesome. But even that one, even those little ones were made out of basically a football jersey material with the little holes in it. So if you could find that jersey material in khaki or olive drab, you just cut it into strips. It's probably something cool to look for. So yeah.
All right. So as for this question from Lilith, do you have any tips on how to apply stickers to figure torso back, like a gang logo, etc.? I mean, outside of like a I don't see it. The solvent you can use that softens up decals and stuff, and then just laying it over real wet and getting it over the creases and ridges and stuff. I don't have a tip on that. I usually end up doing it the extra hard way and drawing or painting it on.
Yeah, if you're using water soluble decals, Microsol makes a couple of different things that make the actual plastic film a little more malleable. Takes a little time and a little Q-tip work, but that's the best way if you're talking about water slide decals. Stickers, that's a little trickier, because stickers I don't even know that would Microsol would work on stickers. It might, but I think it would take off the adhesive on the back side.
Yeah, that's true. If you're talking about legit stickers, that's gonna be tricky. But here's this Microsol that he's talking about. There it is right there. You can see from Hobby Town, it's $5 or something, $4. This bottle will probably last me forever. But
hold that back up.
Using, huh?
Hold it back up. We were in the Preview mode. There you go.
Microcell. Hobby Town, $4. Like I said, that bottle's probably going to last me forever because I don't do a lot of decal stuff, but yeah, that works. It softens up the skin of the decal so you can roll it over things. And if you're doing flat surfaces, it's no big cars and stuff. It's never been an issue. But when you start talking about something that's textured to look like fabric, you get ridges and textures, and that helps.
Don't use your finger. Use a Q-tip or a foam.
Don't use your finger.
your finger will rub the color right off of it, and so you don't want to rub. You kind of want to roll either the foam applicator or the Q-tip. Just roll it over it while it's nice and wet. Keep it wet because the dry will make it peel off some of the sticker or some of the paint. All right. My next figure is from the same time, but not the same thing. Now, this one, I did cheat a little bit on this one because I couldn't handle having a red sticker, a decal. Sorry.
That's for the Desert Officer.
Right. So here's the finished product. Now, like I say, it got out of control this week, last 2 weeks, because in the middle of all this kit bashing, my Stinger came in, and I saw the nice glossy black gloves and stuff on the Stinger driver, and broke the rule a little bit on the knee pads and the decal. But I could have just used the black ones, but then they'd be gray back here and I'd have to paint them later anyway. So this is what I did. I painted the buckle, painted that, painted the logo. I also painted the face too, just because I wanted to be able to see his eyes.
Sure. Yeah.
But that is a
shadow over him.
Sideshow was building some sweet 12-inch GI Joes at that time, and people always they're always like, well, there's always the dark ages and all this, and there were some great concepts, some not so great concepts, but there were a lot of good things that came out of that era. So that was my, I'm just going to show that because really I don't have a whole lot of figures that I kit bashed that are straight out of that time. But, I do have a couple more. So,
yeah.
Let's see what you got next, bud.
All right. So, next, this is Shipwreck version 9. And just real quick, 2-pack Valor versus Venom came with the electric eel. These are actually two figures they did really well on. The portions on them are a little weird, but man, I love that eel. I love every version they did, especially the electric one. That's the clear green. I loved it. And this version of Shipwreck is a version of Shipwreck that we really hadn't seen before. He's just kind of always been a sailor or a diver. And now we're getting more SEAL style design. And the one before this was kind of a dark blue with light blue camo and stuff. Also a really cool figure. But for me, I wanted the Shipwreck that you want to take on the mission, not the goofy, lazy dickweed that we got with the Sunbow stuff. So sticking strictly to the kit bashing, I didn't have a hat for him, as we don't have a buoy hat or removable stocking cap available outside of 3D printing. That I have, at least. Maybe there is. That'd be cool. If there is, let me know. So you got Outback legs, grunt torso, Got some Snake Eyes bits and pieces, Shipwreck head, Stalker's Shemagh. Is that what it's called? Shemagh, is that right?
Shimahang, yeah.
And then Valaverse MP5. It's a little big in scale, but I think it's a really nice looking weapon. So that's my Shipwreck. I big fan of that, but it comes back to Valor versus Venom. That's some good ideas. Sometimes there's some good ideas and some poor execution with these lines, but with a little will, you can turn that into something pretty cool.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
So
Oh, it's my turn, isn't it?
it is. It is.
Okay. Let me go to this mode real quick. Present. All right, I'm going to go.
After 94 to current day, we just hardly get any Joe stuff nowadays. Yeah, I could imagine the struggles for you guys. That's got to be hard to collect just about everything. Goodness.
All right, I went out of scope here,
Oh, good morning, sir. Thank you.
but this is a super easy one to do. All right, and I used the WrestleMania Mr. T. All right, I used that, and I used the Cobra Island Roadblock body, and that's it. I mean, that's how ridiculously simple this one is.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I clicked the wrong thing.
There it is. You did this one several months ago, right? I remember you showing me this like in the spring or something when you had done this.
Yeah, this is from some time ago. But you could do anything with this.
Oh, good though.
You really could. You can, like I said, it's a head swap, and I took the gold necklace out of the WrestleMania box. I mean, I think that's what it was called. Yeah, I got it at Target. It was on clearance for $10. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do with that. Actually, I think it's a little older than that. But the next custom I'm going to do, that I'm going to show, the next kit bash I'm going to show, is not even. It's really not even a figure that exists, but it might as well, because that's how easy this kit bash was. Plus, I had to show how the mineral or the lacquer thinner pulls paint off of stuff. So you want me to skip and do it?
Let's get to read a couple comments here. V. Connolly, those wrist gauntlets for Valor versus Venom were ahead of their time, not fully thought out. No, that's for sure. But we did get, like on Sergeant Hacker, didn't it have? It had like a flip up screen to his gauntlet, like it was molded in. That's a solid touch.
That is one of my all-time favorite figures from that area, Sergeant Hacker.
Oh, it's a good one for sure. Yeah, he's up there with Barrel Roll and Crosshair, definitely. And that Shipwreck, just the first one we got that had the short sleeves and the beanie, man, that's a sweet figure. Cutthroat says he woke up a little late, but he's here now. Well, we appreciate it, and kudos to you getting a little extra sleep on a Sunday. That's what it's all about, baby. Sam Edwards is here. Good morning, sir. Thank you for being here. Mr. T, you got it, Mom. You got it. Oh, look at this guy. Zakanian rumbling into the stream. Appreciate you, sir. Always good to see you in the chats. Thanks for being here. Cutthroat says, WrestleMania Mr. T, does the head joint of the different bodies did you have to do any modifications to mount the head?
I was just looking at that. No. I'm not sure what I did here, honestly.
Did you have to fabric tack it in or anything like that?
No, it fits this ball joint. Yeah, I will just have to remember what I did there. Wow, that's
I'm
weird.
starting to see some other people do them, so that Mr. T must have been released again, or maybe they just found a case of them or something. But I've seen some people
I
finding
don't
them
know.
and doing something similar, which is cool. You know,
You can't see. I won't be able to show it. Yeah, kind of. There's the Mr. T head. Has a little insert in it.
got a little sleeve inside of there.
Yeah. So that was the trick. This is the ball joint on the figure. So yeah, and it really went on easy. So
It was probably those first waves when they were doing that neck ball quite large. Like now they're all over the place, but most of them are pretty small now. So
yeah, the that Cobra Island roadblock has a pretty good sized ball on it. So I am not. I don't think I made any changes. That it has been a bit since I've done that. So, but I do not remember doing any Dremel work on it.
good to know. Good to know. It's a Kanan, you rascal. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So I also did one that's a little outside the scope, and I actually did this one and brought it to DFW. I've since made another one, but this is definitely one that I think people should do, because this tends to be a lot of people's favorite version of Snake Eyes. I know growing up it was mine. So V2 Snake Eyes growing up was one of my favorite figures. Even though I'm not into ninjas, I thought that figure, even though riding the line, damn cool. So I did this. So this is the 60th Action Diver body, and then Snake Eyes head and neck, Snake Eyes pieces. Now you would have to source an extra set of the armbands to go on the wrist, and then the gauntlet there is the Firefly with has the knife on it. I mean that's a pretty easy kit bash. I mean, you go on Mercari and load up a shopping cart with a few greebles and bits and whatnot. And you can kit bash that figure real quick. And that is straight kit bash. It's no paint required. I think I would like to paint this one, just so he's just jet black.
Right.
But yeah, that's mine. That was a little outside of the scope that we were going for. We wanted to do like, one or two to the challenge, and then we both kind of did some others outside of the scope, just to show what you can do, without doing paint or customizing of anything too crazy. I mean, the next step is adding some color pops, like your sideshow Cobra Sniper, or Dollar General version of the Cobra Trooper. I mean,
Right.
Pretty clear where they got the idea for that guy.
Yeah.
So this was just a little bit delving into the kit bashing. Like I said, the gateway drug of customizing is the kit bashing. From here, you just start adding layers.
Well, I'm glad you did the Snake Eyes, because now I don't feel bad about.
Yeah, there you go.
So Flint is super easy. I just removed that armor so that you could see more of his chest.
Nope.
That's what I tried to do earlier. The boots are from Outback, Tiger Force Outback, I think. And the gloves, hold on here. So I changed out the arms to, Recondo Tiger Force arms. So they were the proper rolled sleeves. The gloves are from Buzzer, and he also had this handy piece so the glove could extend down, which the Recondo didn't have that. Now I will tell you that the buzzer hands, the pegs are smaller than Flint's, the hole that Flint had. So what I did was, another trick here, they make several products that are for hardening joints, but I'm going to tell you right now a little secret. It's Elmer's glue mixed with a little water. All right. So what you do is you get you an applicator, or use the end of an X-Acto knife or whatever you want to do, and you put that in the hole, push the part into it, let it set for a little bit, and then just rotate it. Just rotate it around, let it set, and just keep doing that. And if it doesn't quite tighten up, put another drop in there and let it tighten up. Eventually you'll get all the range of motion that you had, and they won't be loose. That really works on hand pegs. It also works if you have a really floppy wrist joint or this T-crotch when they get messed up. It definitely helps with them too. So Elmer's glue and water. That's all you need. We'll fix that. The gun is Falcon's without the stock.
In the spirit of kit bashing.
In the spirit of kit bashing, everything there is something that I took from another figure. So.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Cutthroat. Is it harder to do kit bash the classified figures or the smaller 4-inch figures? I would say the skill required is the same, but it's going to be easier for 4-inch stuff just because of the vast availability of those parts. Skill level, if you're doing it with 4-inch figures, you can do it with 6-inch figures, vice versa. But 6-inch stuff just hasn't been out that long, and there aren't the numbers that the modern 4-inch figures were produced in. I mean, you had full waves, whereas now we're getting, 4, 6 figures at a time. Availability's not what it was, but I don't think either one is harder than the other. It's more of an availability of parts.
Actually, the construction of the figures is very similar. You have some figures with pin joints, some that don't have. You can't take them apart like you used to be able to with O-rings with a screw in the back. So you either use Mikey's preferred method of a heat gun with a gentle touch, or my preferred method of a little hot water in a Pyrex measuring cup in the microwave. You can do it either way.
I use that method too.
Now the danger of boil and pop, and it ties back to the Elmer's glue trick earlier, is that it sometimes will loosen that hip joint. There's just a little shrinkage in the plastic. If you set them in, if they're in the boiling water for too long, if you put the whole figure in there, you do have that danger. So just be aware, and Elmer's glue on hand. I think the stuff that you can buy on Amazon is called Zip or Zip It or something like that, and it's in a cute little applicator bottle, which is nice. But you can use a syringe, you can use anything to apply Elmer's glue, and Elmer's glue is cheap. So
True that. And look at this beauty right here, Mython the Python. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Mom said good looking Flint. That was a good looking Flint. Those buzzer hands are weird. I think those are the Storm Shadow hands because they've got the bow pole.
Yeah, I think they are.
Which is weird because that Recondo. Well, I guess the Recondo did come out after that, so they must have. Yeah, there's no telling with Hasbro when they change dimensions and tolerances. They do it pretty.
Or on what figure they do. It's minor irritation.
Yeah.
It's just something you get around. You could also put you could put some wrap plumber's tape around it. I mean, there's lots of different ways you could do it. I just like the Elmer's glue because then I can totally control the position, of the part on the peg. I can control that a little bit and make sure that it seats just the way I want it. But yeah, sure. Sam, you can, most of the time, especially with hot water or a heat gun, you can squeeze it to make it work. Yeah,
Advice to improve the falcon head.
yeah.
Well, I tell you what I did to improve one. I sculpted on a mustache. I think that looks a lot better. But you know, you do what you want. I recommend replacing it. Plenty of heads out there. You can just paint a Duke head if you like. There's some options out there. Yeah, Samuel Edwards says it. Mustache, cover that. He's got a big old lip. It does not. I think they were going for like Behringer
Tom Berenger look. Yeah.
Platoon, but the execution maybe not so good.
But they made the same mistake with the last version of Grunt that they did in the 4-inch figures.
Yeah,
it wasn't a terrible sculpt, but man, the lips were way too dark and it just didn't work. I've seen some people do repaints of that falcon head, and it's not awful, especially if
it's much better.
You put a little 5 o'clock shadow on him or something to get that working, So, there are things you can do, and yes, I do.
I just keep mine over here, and I just put whatever I want in it. I don't use it in the microwave. It's too special. It's special, It came in the styrofoam cube. They took that much care to it. I don't want to put it in the microwave, but just appreciate it, Samuel Edwards is going to try your technique, a little Elmer's glue trick. See how that does. I actually wasn't aware of that trick. I just give up. I just move on to a different set of hands.
The thing is, the Elmer's glue is you can buy it, like I said, super cheap, especially here in about a month. It's going to be on clearance everywhere because of the store supplies. They'll be clearing them out.
Yeah.
So you just get a little bit of it. But if you go in the small bottles, the applicator on it is smaller. And honestly, for something like a wrist joint that's deep, it's not going to hurt to not thin it out. Just put a drop in there. And the nice thing about it is it's water-based. You can wipe it off before you put the glove in there. Wipe it all off. It doesn't leave any residue. You can just use a damp towel, wipe it off there. It'll fill in the joint real nice, and try it out. Let me know how it worked. Like I said, I bought expensive stuff, and when I bought it, I smelled it and looked at it, and I was like, this is just glue. This is glue. I paid $19 for a 4-ounce bottle of Elmer's glue. I never agreed.
That's steep. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. And since it is Elmer's glue, if you ever decide to use those arms for something else, all you got to do is just dig out the Elmer's glue.
Yeah, with a toothpick, you can get in there and peel it. Right, it'll come right out because it doesn't stick to the plastic. It's a perfect joint cushion.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Have you ever done a Black Major Cobra eel before with a classified figure? I haven't done any eel customs. I got one, but I didn't know why I got it. I'm waiting for the purpose to come through, but there's some pretty. If you were doing customs, you could definitely pull into the Red Laser Black Major inventory of repaints and get some pretty solid ideas. Mython wants to know if there's any news on the call sign longbow figures. Last I heard, we got something on the water, maybe?
Yeah, so I can give you an update. Ghost is on the water. It's coming over with some other projects that one of them is a pretty popular one that people will be happy to see the fruits of that labor. But call sign Longbow's Ghost is going to hit the shores as soon as it can. It's slow boats. I don't know if they use rowboats when they say, well, we'll have to ship it slow. But I don't know. That's a terrible joke about Chinese shipping. I shouldn't do that.
Well, I think just about everybody in this chat has probably felt the sting of Chinese shipping methods.
At some point, yeah. whether it's Temu or whatever, AliExpress, it's so weird how some, depending on the size of the package and where you're shipping to and who you're shipping from, you may get it in the same amount of time. I know before COVID, I know everybody's tired of hearing about COVID. Me too. Before COVID, the U.S. Postal Service, the government had a deal with China where you could ship things back and forth pretty quick using whatever means that the U.S. was using to bring product here. So it was very possible for you to spend $6 on shipping and have it in 4 or 5 days. That's kind of died out now, because a lot of that was air, and you were basically getting air shipping for free. So you were just paying a basic postal rate, and the freight was free. So it was a great deal, especially if you were buying stuff like on AliExpress at that time. There was a lot of people doing that.
We deal with that on a daily basis at my day job, because our parent company is in Germany. So if you have stuff, equipment shipped over the ocean, 6 weeks it's gonna take to get that. Whereas air freight can be there, depending on how priority it is, it could be there in a day or two. No different than the China stuff, but I think a lot of that is, like you said, switched away from the air freight, and now it's all coming on a boat, and got to take that long way around Somalia.
That's right. Now, as far as the rest of the call sign longbow stuff, we are finally in the queue to get molds cut. So almost every mold is cut. There is or cut or being cut. I think there's one figure mold that hasn't. It was one of the later additions to the Kickstarter. So it's just behind everything else, but a lot of its parts are in some of the stuff we're already doing. We do have a couple more grindstone O-rings coming out. I don't know if they'll get here before Christmas or not, but there are a couple of special projects, basically using the Ghost tooling with some other parts, Ghost or Skeletron Wolf Trooper tooling. So we have some stuff going on. Comic book number 2, I'm sure people saw the update on Kickstarter, but comic number 2 is being inked right now. Story's finally done. We're going to introduce the Hunt team and how they get assembled. Grindstone gets a little friction within the team between two of the main characters because of the mission in the first issue. So we're kind of building up some good story here. The next it'll probably be several issues before we introduce Steel Web in any way at all. We want to really focus on getting you guys to know the two teams from each country and what makes them tick. Not everybody on the Hunt team is, a patriotic, party line communist, but they're going to do their job, for the country. We'll get a little glimpse of the idealism there, how a soldier views fighting for the country versus how a politician views fighting for the country. It's especially good there because during that time there were people that absolutely loved Mother Russia. I mean, they were, like American patriots. It was the same kind of idea, but they had, in order to stay with the country they loved, they had to follow an ideology that they may not have actually bought into, but leaving Mother Russia would have never crossed their mind because that's their country. That's where they were born. That's where their family is from. So we'll get into that a little bit. It's not going to take the center stage at all. We got plenty of action coming. The second issue was fun to write and put together. Introducing the team, the Russian team is pretty cool. You guys will get an idea of some of the ideas we have, some of the concepts that are coming. Some of those characters will be figures, some won't be, or maybe they will be. I don't know. With the recent changes in crowdfunding ideologies. We're gonna take it nice and slow and make sure that we don't get in over our heads. I don't want to have to tell you guys about new products coming and then have to tell you later like it's not going to happen because we don't have enough money. We want to do it slow. We want to do it good. We want to make sure that we're making the stuff you guys want. And I will tell you, I got my production sample of Ghost, and he's amazing. He looks so good. He feels like a vintage O-ring in your hand. He's awesome. Our weapons are made out of a little harder material than the originals, I think, but that makes the sculpting on them more crisp. And at that scale, that's kind of welcome.
Sure.
But Ghost is he's good, and his everything's good about him. I'm super proud of him. I was proud of the Wolf Trooper. I really was. And this is cool because it is the same tool, but it really stands out as its own thing. And I know that's probably because it's purple, right? So
Sure.
Purple versus red, they look very different. Obviously, the rivets are different colors, things like that. But that's kind of where we are with it. It's hard not to get excited when you know stuff's on the boat. It's hard not to get excited when you see pictures of tooling being cut. It's hard not to get excited because we've waited so long for this queue in the factory for our turn, and it's I'm pumped about it. I can't wait till we can give you guys an update with some real meat in it.
Oh, yeah.
I have seen production parts from the Lancer mold. I haven't seen them in hand, but I have seen them. So that's well on its way.
Cool.
That's coming. Is the next tool up. The ninjas, or the red ninja. It's coming. That tool is coming. So yeah, it's moving. It's moving, and it took us a little bit to get there. And that is as frustrating for us as it is for you guys.
I like that you said ninjas. Like, it's already assumed that you're gonna army build a red ninja. Like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
The red ninja, the Krasny ninja, and I'm sure most of you know by now, but Krasny is just Russian for red, just Cyrillic. So he is an army builder. People ask that question all the time, but the red ninja, he's an army builder. Build him up.
I think you got that impression that when you first showed him at Joe Fest a few years ago, people lost their minds when they saw the art for the Krasny Ninja. Like, that was so crazy, the response that immediately got. I mean, people were stoked about a Russian ninja. Like, the combination of two things, how have we not had that before?
And we had a couple of, I've talked to a few people that were like, that it was way off of the ninja concept. And it really isn't. When you just think outside the box here a little bit. But when the ninja was created, when they formed that whole mythos, they were using farm tools, right? They were using tools that, because they weren't allowed to have, bladed weapons. A village was allowed to have one knife, and everybody shared it. So they were using tools that they would use to farm. So using the idea of the Mother Russia mentality and the communism mentality, the iron and the sickle were the tools of the worker, so we made them ninja weapons. So that's basically how this group has adapted over the years. Keep in mind, Mongolia was part of the Soviet Empire, so there are already those roots. We have several characters in the hunt team that will be of Mongolian descent. The nice thing, people always have this idea of what Russians are in the Cold War because of the movies. They always kind of meet this specific, almost Nazi characterization, and they weren't. They are a mixed people. There are a lot of indigenous tribes still in Russia. There are so even in the Soviet Union, even though they had to live under Soviet ideology, they still had their customs. They still had the things that made them who they were. So we want to be sure that we note that because it adds a lot of buzzword here, but it adds a lot of diversity to a team that is normally looked at as one archetype of a bad guy. The Hunt team, the Russians, they were our bad guys because we're the good guys because we're America, right? But they didn't see themselves that way. They saw themselves as standing up for themselves. The people believed that we were a threat to them as much as we believed they were a threat to us. So it wasn't just the governments. It wasn't all that. The people actually, that kind of got down to them. So there's a lot of that. And the Krasny Ninja was honestly, guys, it was a joke that Troy sketched out. And after it was sketched out, it was just like, this has to be a call sign longbow figure.
So it's like a Pimp Daddy Destro situation, but the designer has embraced it instead of saying that should have never happened.
Right. Yeah, it was just like, okay, we're doing it. Our marketing research team immediately latched onto it and said, this has to happen. And then when we showed it at GoFest, we knew it was going to be a hit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So,
Let's do some of these chats here, man.
Yeah.
So we got Ken's Toys here. Probably should have started watching this before he started repainting Christopher Walken head from Dune this morning. Well, I don't know if that's true, but I sure appreciate you being here. Well, good looking forward to seeing how that head turns out too. Biff Jocko, never heard of the Elmer's glue thing. That's a solid tip. Maybe so. I don't think it's Elmer's glue though. I think it's probably airplane glue.
Lilith, it's not just glue. I am not a chemist, but I have so much experience with chemicals that I can smell a chemical and pretty much know what it is. Somebody will be like, "What is that smell?" And I'll be like, "That sounds like MEK." I think it smells like, yep, it's MEK. Oh no, that's burnt styrene. I mean, I've been around chemicals my whole career and the hobby. Like, I've dabbled in stuff over the years. I was one of the first. I can remember when Mikey was a kid, and the first time I ever bought silicone to make molds and resins to make molds, and it was the junkiest crap you could buy at the time. But boy, we made a lot of cell phones.
We did. Once we found it, man, it was on.
It was. Once I figured out how to do it, I was all over. But yeah, it's
phones, knee pads, and Cobra Trooper knee pads and helmets. I remember.
Oh yeah, that helmet.
Crazy with those. Oh, and the AK-47, the grenade launcher that attached to the bottom.
Yeah, the BG-15.
That was a hell of a scratch build.
Yeah, I scratch built it and then just made molds of it. Made a mold and made casts of it. Mm-hmm. That was before there was really a good, accurate Cobra Trooper 12-inch scale.
My Elmer glue trick hack is to spread it across styrofoam, and it will protect, seal it enough that I can rattle can it without fear of melting. That's a good tip as well, especially for those you guys that do the dios and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of guys use latex paint. They'll just go to like a hardware store or whatever that does paint mixing and just grab a gallon of whatever they have. Again, you just mix it with water and spread it out. But glue is cheap. It's easy to spread, and it gives you a little texture you can work with if you want to be clever about it.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of the model guys, especially the train guys, that's what they use for putting gravel on. They usually coat it with Elmer's glue, and then you sprinkle the stuff on top. It's been used for a long time. It's a simple and cheap solution to a
prevalent
problem.
I was talking about model kits earlier. Like if you were using model glue when you were building cars or airplanes, it will fog up the windshield or the windscreen on the plane. It'll ruin it. So for years, hobbyists use Elmer's glue to attach the glass canopies.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Cutthroat wants to know if you have any ideas for new classified kit bashes for future streams. You got some ideas?
Yes, I do. I'm going to let you guys in on some secrets here. But Mikey and I talk a lot about the Action Man / 5POA Assault Trooper. That was my first Action Man figure in that scale. The special assault teams that they had in 12-inch scale. We did that. So I know this is bigger, for the Adapt Trooper in Call Sign Longbow. It's an homage to that, but it's a different figure because it's a different character. But yeah, I did a lot of work in 1/6 scale. So we're thinking about doing something with this. I'll show that again. Something with that. I just have this stuff laying around on my desk. Here's the gun, pistol. And the alternate rifle.
Oh, that's real nice. Nice homage to the bullpup, the L85.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
those are sweet.
So this was a 12-inch project I had a long time ago when I was really going with it, and you can see that these weapons share the exact same trigger mechanism, because the idea of this future soldier concept was that they were encoded to the soldier. So you would just snap on the trigger mechanism, and that is how you would activate that rifle. I'm going to abandon that. It looked cool. It'll stay on the CQB, on the close quarter combat weapon. It'll stay that way. This one will be a little different looking. So what we kind of want to do is our own version of the Assault Trooper, sort of modern, but still a nod to the both the Action Man and Action Force versions, 12-inch and 4-inch. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, we definitely want to do some stuff with science fiction.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
like I said, we do not want to make our own figures. We don't want to do that. I don't want to get into that. I already do that, and honestly, I'm an old man. My heart can't take any more of that. So what I want to do is work on things that, again, I want to make everybody that watches, everybody that's in this hobby, be excited about making a custom themselves. The hobby is always going to be plagued with the wait for Ross mentality, but why not take advantage of that? You see a cool figure at Ross, or a not so cool figure. Is there something we could add to it, or we can make for it, or a way to show people how to customize it to where it is actually a pretty cool figure? If you pay $6 or $10 for it at Ross, you don't have much of an investment. It's not like buying a $25 figure to do what you need to do. So Mikey and I we're focusing on using Dusty parts, doing stuff like that. Dusty, Flint, Duke, characters and figures that are very, very easily obtained. Then we want to put together the parts that make it into what you want it to be. So that's kind of what we are thinking. So I don't know. We will see, but yes, it's going to be cool. It's going to be really cool.
Oh yeah. Mython appreciates the update. I'm terrible about reading my emails too, but man, I just get so excited when I hear about news from a Kickstarter, despite the some of the ones I've received recently. Those are disheartening. But updates I usually check. But we're happy to
Here
have
is
you on here to give you some.
I want to show one more thing here.
Oh yeah.
This is the helmet design. So we're definitely working on some stuff.
Very cool. I'm excited to get Ghost in hand. We are all excited to get Ghost in hand. As we got a little taste with the Wolf Trooper, and that's a hell of a benchmark for an O-ring figure. And now that we've got Delta 17 and feeling those figures in hand, it's just this is as much crap as we've dealt with as a toy community. Man, what a time to be collecting. I mean, between this stuff and Ace with Ramen and the stuff he's making, Valaverse stuff. If you're collecting stuff right now, there's just never been a sweeter time. I mean, whatever you're into, there's a niche line that's making it. I mean, it's rad. So Dad and I really just kind of want to fill in the cracks a little bit. Like
We do.
Stalker's available, I think like $14 on Amazon. That's a hell of a figure to start with. Ross is going to keep popping stuff up, ollies, all that kind of stuff. And we just want to give you something to do with a $7 figure.
And that's Mikey's right. There's a lot of division and stuff out there, and there really doesn't need to be. This isn't politics. You can collect what you like and avoid what you don't like, but there is so much out there right now. And I mean, I just opened my Vamp 2 weeks ago, and I loved it. I mean, I knew it was going to be good. I just hadn't had a lot of room to do it, but I knew the Stinger was coming. I was like, I should probably look at the Vamp. So I looked at it, and it's great. Something as simple as the Trouble Bubble is so cool. We're getting all this stuff. The Dragonfly's coming. Rattler's going to make it. The Vanguard is a pretty sweet vehicle. We can argue, like about who owns what company and what they do and what they don't do, but I saw today, Mikey and I, right before this, we were talking about the Vanguard turret situation that Valaverse is going to not only fix for future, but they're going to send them out too. Okay, that's incredible. I mean, that's awesome.
Sure.
So Lilith is right. The what we're still calling independent companies, we're fans. So we know, we know these things. We live them every day. Sure, Hasbro, there's some misses, but there were misses in the original line too. There were figures that didn't sell very good that you could always go back and you'd get them on clearance because nobody wanted it. I read a post this morning where somebody was talking about how Naga Hive wasn't worth what it was, and it is to some people. Some people love that character.
Some people go crazy for the Dreadnoks. It's not my bag, but man, that's a faction. There's a big fan base for. Big fan.
And that's like I said, I think it's an amazing time to be a collector. There's so many different price points. If you still love 1/18th and you're still into 1/18th, Joy Toys doing cool stuff. Thank you. So there's a lot out there. There's a lot we can do. So we want to make it so that if you're inclined to do some of the stuff that we talk about, that you would want to, and we can help you do it. We just think it'd be fun. It's over the years, the ideas and concepts that I've had for a company or for something like that have changed. But when I was working on that 12-inch figure, my goal was always that we would offer a set of armor or a set of gear, and then give you all of the information you needed to turn it into your own. And an idea that I had. This is a crazy idea, but I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Pinewood Derby cars. All right, and I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, they started coming out with these wraps, a whole wrap, like a sheet. And you could literally wrap your wooden car in that wrap, and it could be camouflaged. I have a camouflage one hanging up over there. Red, white, and blue. They had all kinds of stuff. And we were even thinking, like, what if you could just buy wraps in different colors and you don't even have to paint the stuff? You could just put the wrap on it.
Sure.
And that for 12-inch figures, that actually is a pretty nice concept, especially if it's got a very technical camo pattern, So that's that's something. Oh, earlier we were talking about Lazy Customs, and we were talking about the lacquer thinner thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this really doesn't follow any sort of rule that we had, but I threw together this grunt. That's a Dusty, right? And I used the lacquer thinner. You see, nothing's chewed up. It didn't ruin the plastic at all. Just pull it. It's a little trickier on the legs because of the pattern on the legs. So that brown paint really sticks in there. So you got to do a little work on it with the Q-tip, scrub it out a little bit. Just keep wiping it off with your paper towel so it doesn't stain anything with the paint coming off. But this is just Grunt's gear on Dusty's body. Grunt's
Pretty
gear.
solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah. So that's an easy one. No paint. You got to mess with the thinner a little bit. And other people, other people in the house and complain about the paint thinner smell. Yeah, you're going to deal with that. The nice thing about acrylic paints is you don't have to worry about that with the paint. But doing the thinner is a little strong. If you don't have a fan or well ventilated area, you probably might want to avoid it. It makes some people really sick, and sometimes it just gives you a headache. But when guys like me that are around that stuff all the time, when we say make sure it's a well ventilated area, it probably should be a well ventilated area. I can handle a lot of nail polish remover and acetone and all that stuff, but man, you got other people in the house. Just keep in mind that they're not right there working on it.
Yeah.
You may be focused on that. You may not be thinking about how much that stuff you're getting out in the air, but just keep that in mind. I hate to throw out a warning and be a buzzkill, but there is, you do want to be sure that you're, keeping everybody else in the house in mind, especially kids, and keep that stuff
Animals.
out.
You don't want your dogs breathing that.
Yeah.
Be conscientious of people and things around you. That's what he's saying. I think every show we've done, you have gotten a compliment on that Firefox poster, and I think it's so funny because it's not a popular movie, but it's got a hell of a following.
It does.
That one's particularly special, though, right? I mean,
this one is. Yeah, this is this
special.
is an actual theater poster from a movie theater, mounted in a movie theater frame.
Papa had that in his office for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I got him the poster, and then my brother was working for a sign company at the time and built that, and I lost both of them, and this is something that I have that reminds me of both of them all the time, and I absolutely love that movie.
Sure, absolutely. Here's the little comment on the independent toy companies doing amazing work. It's something that I think Chad and I have said almost every time that we're live together, but fans do the best work. I mean, you're not you're less corrupted by the dollar in that sense. You're still passion driven, and you get to see that in a lot of these independents work. Despite factory issues, you can still see the guys behind it are so passionate about it. And it's just nice to share that a little bit.
And it's one thing too that I will say about independent companies is we're not We don't have massive cash flow, just like you don't. So everything we do, we have to try to be fiscally aware of what we're doing and what we're spending our funding on, what we're doing. If we did a Kickstarter, we got to take care of that money. That money's got to pay for everything. That money's got to build what we told you we were going to build. It gets really easy to get into, doing things that are expensive. The comic book, for instance, it's not real expensive. It's really not. I mean, there's work in it, but you get passionate people together that work well together. Doug Hart, the artist that does our card art, that did most of the card art from about 87 on, I think. Doug is a great guy. He's not a big technology guy. He doesn't trust technology. He's pretty funny about that stuff, but he's a good guy, and he's older. He's excited. He will send us messages about, okay, what else we got to work on. He loves doing this, and I see something like that, and I think this guy's been doing this since the mid 80s. Doug also did like the Air Raiders art for the Air Raiders toys, which the art is so cool on that. It's so sci-fi. He did the art for the Stargate toys. That a lot of them were repaints of G.I. Joe vehicles and stuff. He did that art. So Doug's been in the industry a long time, and to see somebody who's out of the industry and now actively involved in 3 different independent toy companies, that's inspiring to us. This guy looks forward to it. And I have learned that over the years also, is that so many of the people that created that stuff, it was just a job. They enjoyed it, but it was just a job to them. And we're coming at it from a different angle. This is something we want to do. Like, it's not our job, it's our hobby. And there's don't kid yourself. There's no real money in it. I mean, it's not, especially if you have something bigger to do than just make a figure. We want to build a brand, and so every bit of money is going to go right back into it. Whether it's for a comic or whether it's to pay guys like Doug or to get people involved that are sculpting, that want to sculpt, that don't mind sculpting O-ring figures. A lot of the guys these days are like, yeah, I'm doing classified, I'm doing modern, I want to go back to, and we're looking for a certain look. We're super finicky about it, but at the end of the day, we're just fans. We're fans that are taking the same budget, maybe a little bit more, whatever we have, obviously, but we're at the same budget as you have, that you're spending on toys. I saw that meme the other day with the sock or the puppet monkey, where it said, I spend, there's some people that spend over $250 a year on their hobbies. And it's the monkey like looking sideways, like, yeah, okay. Amateur.
Excuse me.
But
yeah, I
think that's why independents are taking it over, because I think people are, they're jaded with the whole corporate mentality. It's not just things like Disney, with Star Wars or the Marvel universe. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. People just really feel, like there's not a lot of passion behind it. It's something about making a dollar, and especially for Troy and I, it's not about making a dollar. It's about making a product that we never got to have. So
sure. And I think another aspect of it is getting to know, the people that represent stuff. You get to, with a small business, with a small toy company, you know the people. It's like people that go to mom and pop shops. You get to know the people, and that makes you appreciate and love the product even more. People that just, hire, big companies to do stuff. You don't get the personal connection that you do if you hire, this contractor that's been doing this for 30 years, and you know the guy. You can text him, you can ask him a question. You can do the same thing with Longbow, for example. DFW, people got to just come up and talk to you at Joe Fest. Troy was there. They got to go up and talk to him and interact and see the passion. And man, you see somebody else's passion, it kind of kind of fires yours up a little bit. We got to talk to a couple of, relatively new artists at DFW. We got to talk to Gabe Mangum. We got to talk to him. We got to talk to George Vega. We got to make that connection. He did those incredible drawings of our planes.
builds.
Like, dude, that is so cool to see these guys that are in this, call it a community, that are passionate about it, because the passion builds passion, man. And at the end of the day, if the hobby doesn't have passion, what the hell are you doing it for? You know what I mean?
That's right.
And Lilith makes a good point. Everybody has different tastes and opinions. You can't make everybody happy. And if you try, you're just gonna frustrate yourself. But if you can build a following that's passionate about what you're passionate about, man, that was Dad and I's whole purpose with this podcast. We're not expecting this to get like huge or anything, but it's a outlet that we can share with you guys, and we can share that passion. We can share tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff that most of us don't get to do on the daily. We don't.
Right.
Most of us don't get to work with people that also paint dollies. Like, that's not that common. Usually when you tell people, they're like, really? Occasionally you get one that's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But this is the safe space for this. I mean, this is what we wanted. We just want a little community that's passionate about the same stuff we are. And that's a pretty vast thing that Dad and I are all over the place as far as interests and hobbies. And we're both car guys. We're both movie guys. We love vast genres of music. I mean, we're all over the place. We're pretty easy to talk to because we're guaranteed to have something in common. But being able to talk about toys is something we just don't get.
There's Paul trying to get you to Joe Lana again. I do want to say something about the online community.
What's up, brother? How you doing this morning? Good to see you.
Lilith said that a lot of people get out of it because the community is hostile.
Yeah,
Keep in mind, and this is true if you've ever been dealt with any sort of customer service type of industry, the most of the time feedback you get is negative. People get angry, they don't like something, and they want to complain about it.
Yep.
People are happy and they're happy with their service, they go on with their life.
Yep.
So what happens online is, and this is, there's people, and I'm not going to argue about this point, that think social media is eroding our ability to be a community, because people are so focused on what they want right now, and they can say what they want, and they think, just type it on the computer and it's out there and everybody knows what they think. But don't let that discourage you. There are a lot of us out there that are not like that. I just talked a while ago about how it doesn't matter to me what you collect or what you like. Man, if you like it, you should collect it. If it's Doorables, some people love those. Even Pops. I'm not a super fan of Pops, but I know people that just absolutely love them. The nice thing about Pops is they go over all kinds of genres and ideas. But don't let that discourage you, because there are enough people out there that do want to positively engage, that do want to have conversations. That's one of my favorite things about going to a show. It's not just the show itself, it's after the show, or the things you do at lunch or whatever with another collector or another person in the hobby. Man, those are the things that make it awesome. Like, we love the toys, we've already established that, we buy them, but to actually meet the other people that do get into it, that are into it and get excited whenever you talk about stuff, or talking about Longbow a little bit ago, like that kind of stuff. People, that's fun, man. That is where the fun's at. Shows like this, where we're not going to get on here and rant and bust people's balls. That's not what we want to do.
No.
Mikey and I have been going to shows since he was old enough to go to shows, and I have always found that was the best part. That was like icing on the cake. You got the toy, you have the passion for the brand or the toy itself, and then you meet other people that like the same thing. This year at the show, I made a couple of new friends. That was awesome. I mean, I like having friends. I like knowing people.
Oh yeah.
But if you go to a show and everybody's already seen online that you're a miserable douche, nobody's going to want to hang out with you or go to lunch with you, and you're going to get online later and be like, yeah, I've been to shows and everybody's just rude. And they're really not. People are at the show. Everybody's there to enjoy themselves and have a good time, and what better way to do that than with other fans? So don't let I find myself, Mikey and I talk all the time, and almost every day there is something online that we talk about and joke about what somebody said, and there are times when I will just not check Facebook for a few days. Like I don't even want on there. I don't want to hear it, and
Mhm.
it's not that I'm not open to people's opinions. I am, but like the Naugahyde post I talked about earlier, like you don't have to buy it.
Nope.
If you don't like Naugahyde, you think the pets are dumb or whatever, you don't have to buy it. It's not that we're not collecting flag points anymore. If you want 3 flag points, buy another stinger. But that's I do find that there are good people on the online community. Not everybody's negative. Not everybody's. You just hear them more. I did notice the last couple of weeks, a lot of those guys have a negative thing to say, and then they'll post it. They'll spam it in every GI Joe group.
Yeah.
And then so you see it on your feed like 6 times. That's just one guy having a temper tantrum. Let it go. Just scroll past. It's not even worth engaging at that point.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I think that same guy even said that accused Hasbro of price gouging on that Naugahyde. It's like, okay. So
Yeah,
anyway,
Jeff, I agree. I agree.
thanks, Jeff.
I can't do it, Paul. I can't do it. I love to. I can't do it, man. Mython, if you go, please somebody entertain Paul at the show, for God's sakes.
Somebody do it. Well, you've been bugging Mikey so much about it. I want to go.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Work on Pop a little bit.
I've wanted to go to Atlanta for quite a while now. I just haven't ever been able to swing it.
Yeah. Will, good morning, sir. Thanks for stopping in, man. Good to see you. Good to see you. Lula says it's more difficult when seeing your country is super tiny. However, I find an interacting channel like it's Chad J. Bartlett really keep my passion on point. I think, for me, that's the point of these channels. I mean, there are some where their point is, hashing out the bad and wanting to talk about it. I just don't. I get venting and I get that helping you because you get to relieve a little pressure, but I would way rather just throw positive vibes, which is weird because somebody with a little bit of an anger problem taking that approach is, it is what it is. But I did want to bring up, you said that people that are upset are going to let you know about it, and people that are content or happy are just going to move on. So a little something that a lot of you guys probably don't know is I worked at McDonald's for my first 6 years of my of age working time. And in that, I became a manager, and part of McDonald's management training is actively walking the floor from time to time and asking people how their experience was, because you're always going to get the negative, but you kind of have to fish for the positive. So in order to know what you're doing right, you have to do polls and you have to inquire and make sure people are copacetic with what you're doing, and that you're on the trajectory that you want to be on for your ultimate goal. Um, but my fun says here, Facebook is terrible. Go days without. Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, I have
days without looking at it.
Messenger as a totally separate app, so that I
Yeah.
don't even have to open Facebook. I can just communicate with people on Messenger. Like,
Yep.
same for me. I feel the same way. It does Lilith's right. It does eat at you, because you're like, I love this hobby. Why is it so negative? And I don't think it is. I think it's just, like I said, it's that instant gratification of being able to get out there. Mikey was talking about McDonald's. That's a perfect example of getting on with your life, right? If you mess up my Big Mac, I'm going to come up there and I'm going to tell you about it. If you didn't, I'm going to sit at the table and I'm going to eat it. I'm going to have my fries, enjoy my meal with my kids, and then I'm going to walk out. I'm not going to come up to the thing and say, hey, good job on that Big Mac, y'all. Like, I'm not going to do that. Probably would be nice if more people did, but I don't do that. I just move on with my life. So walking the floor and saying, is your meal okay? And having somebody look up at you and say, yeah, it's exactly what we ordered.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
I think I always thought of
I'm
it.
not expecting somebody at McDonald's to be like, this is the best meal I've ever had, but at least you get the satisfaction of knowing that, okay, good. That's what I needed to know. My fries were a little cold, but they're okay. Well, we'll make sure we'll work on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I'm going to
absolutely.
be much more open and receptive to talking to somebody about what we'll do to help, if they don't just come up and crawl one of my cashier's ass because it had 2 pickles instead of 3.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I always thought about it growing up. You and I both would see how Papa interacted with people coming into church. So for those of you that don't know, my grandpa was a preacher for a majority of his life. And so Dad grew up in the church. I grew up going to church. And that was always something that Papa did that it always stood out to me. But everybody that came in, he'd shake their hand, say, good to see you. God bless you. Glad you're here. And I always saw that, not always, but when I got older, I always thought of that as, that is customer service. Like that's what I wanted to strive for. And now it's, anything with time becomes, increasingly difficult as far as service goes. And there's a lot more to it, but at the base principle of customer service is engaging with your audience and making sure that they feel appreciated or noticed. So if that's giving you a platform to air your grievances, or if it's somewhere that people can go to just talk about the things that they like and build on that, there's something positive to come out of any of those scenarios, even if it is negative. Dad, you brought up the Bobby Vala, the Vanguard and the new gun that's coming out. That is the perfect example of listening to your audience and correcting something that you really didn't see as an issue until somebody pointed it out. And that's taking the positive approach, not pointing the finger at another line. Well, this line didn't do that. I'm like, well, we're not talking about that line. I don't care about that one. I don't care how you went to Taco Bell yesterday and the bean burrito had an ample amount of mild sauce in it. I'm talking about the Big Mac here. So it's all in how you process the information. And it's nice to see that these independent toy companies are paying attention to it. It's nice to see. It's nice to see. It's in it as a consumer. It makes you feel appreciated. You pair that with getting to know the person that runs the company or represents it. That's a really encouraging thing to pursue, that connection, that camaraderie, I think.
It is. And Will, that's exactly true. And it's not just true of the food service industry. It's true of, if you look at Amazon reviews, even, and I know this gets a lot of crap, but even your Rotten Tomatoes scores, if you're not a critic you may not go out there and say what a great movie it was. You might just talk about what a bad movie it was.
Sure.
And Lilith, I totally understand this. I have had times in this hobby where I had to walk away for a while, especially with social interactions. And I understand the anxiety part very much so. When we first started going to shows, I just kind of avoided the people and just looked at what vendors were doing. And it wasn't until much later when I became involved in some of this stuff that I realized that there was a social connection to be made. And part of that, I'm a manager where I work. I have a lot of people that work for me. And I try to have that same approach with them. It's not easy. And I totally understand. I understand how that can get, that can really tear you down, especially if you're trying to get a product going or trying to do something and you get a lot of, even during our Kickstarter, I had to avoid groups for a while that I normally checked every day. I had to stop because I was trying to interact with people, and the only interaction I was getting was incredibly negative. And finally, one of the guys on the team was just like, just don't say anything. I wouldn't even get on there anymore. Just get off there completely. And I did for the rest of the Kickstarter. I just avoided the whole thing. And I hated it because I really wanted the interaction, but so.
Yeah. Good point.
Word.
Yeah, that's
Lilith, don't worry about it. We're just glad you're here.
absolutely.
I think you've been on all of our shows.
Yeah, we appreciate all you guys, for sure.
And I was just excited to find out there's someone else that had read the Guardian series.
Yeah, and Mython, we appreciate that, as you do a incredible job of spreading positivity, and that sounds so ridiculous now that it came out of my mouth, but dude, that's the truth, man. You do, and everybody loves and appreciates you being in their a part of their channels and a part of the chats, dude. You're a solid dude. We're so glad to have you in our community. I'm gonna say it. Yeah. So keep doing what you're doing, because I don't know anybody that's not a fan of it. But yeah, and I don't buy very much Valaverse. I just, dude, when it speaks to me, man, that's the one I get. I love these swarm troopers. Those are rad, man.
People complain about repaints, but man, I'll take every swarm trooper that gets made. That is
I'm kind of there, yeah.
That is one of my favorite figures in 6-inch scale ever. Like, I just love it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's like it's almost to the level of Black Mage or Snake Eyes. Like, I really don't care about one in green, but damn, that tracer is sick.
It is. Yeah, the turret's a perfect example. It really is. Mike and I were talking about this morning before the show. Man, that is sweet.
Yeah. Oh God, that is gospel right there. That is so true.
That's what I think.
The kids enjoy it, for God's sakes. That's
what I think is funny about this whole conversation that goes on a lot of shows. It was, it's this hobby sucks, or Star Wars fans are toxic, or G.I. Joe fans are toxic. Like, dude, everybody's toxic. Every fandom has toxic people. If you're a football fan, you got some people, and sometimes they're the loudest, that will constantly beat up a team, that will constantly armchair quarterback, right? That's perfect word for it. Like, well, if I owned the company, I would make all the stormtroopers. Okay, but are you sure everybody's gonna buy all the stormtroopers? I mean, you can't just make what you want. You have to make what's going to make money for the company. but it's the hobby. It's a hobby, man. It's your choice to spend your money on it.
Yeah.
It just seems like a weird thing to get shitty about. But Paul's comment here is a perfect example. It's not just our hobby. It's people. The same people that I was talking about earlier with the keyboard warrior concept. Same thing. Except that the parents in youth sports are ballsy.
They're bold.
But most of them aren't going to donate their time to be the coach of a T-ball team. They're not going to donate their time to actually try to do something about it other than just complain to the person that is volunteering their time. And same concept with your toy company, you know. If you're a coach out there and you're volunteering your time to help those kids get better at it and do something outside of school that is social and competitive and helps them become better adults, that's a worthy cause. That is something to be proud of. That's something to be proud of your time. And really the last thing anybody wants is some parent who shows up at one game every 2 weeks crawling their ass because their kid didn't get enough time, or so one of the other kids sucks or whatever. God, man. Just enjoy the game and go home.
Yeah. I have a buddy that last summer was doing youth coaching because his kids were into it. And he said it was terrible because some of these kids, they don't want to be there. Like, they're not even there because they want to play, flag football or basketball. Like, they're there because their parents want them to be there. And then their parents are mad, crawling up his keister about them not getting enough time. And it's like, your kid doesn't want to play. These other kids want to play. Like, that kid's worried about Gatorade, and he hasn't even touched the field yet. He doesn't care. Like, you took the switch away from him. Now he doesn't know what to do with his hands.
So yeah,
that's true.
It always makes me sad to think that somebody left a hobby or felt like they had to leave a hobby they loved or a thing that they loved because another person ruined it for them. That sucks for me, and that's coming from me as a fellow collector, as a hobbyist, and as a business owner. Like that sucks, and I hate hearing that. But I also know how hard it is to deal with crippling anxiety, depression. I know what that's like. I've been through that. I struggle with it a lot. I had a bad year last year. I struggled a lot with that at the end of the year. And it brought back a lot of old feelings that I had and just brought all that back. So I totally understand that. And sometimes even in that, you just have to walk away. You do. You have to walk away from the situation that is making you sick. And that sucks, but that does happen. But I will say, Lilith, that I'm glad you're here.
Very glad.
Because it is important to find people that you can connect with that like the things that you do like. Is that putting yourself in a bubble? Hell yeah, it is. But that's okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
And it's important to, try to expand that bubble, I think. But having a solid foundation is the first step. Like, Lilith, you just, you posted that Chad and Zazel and Jay brought you into interacting with people, and I thank them for that because we love engaging with you as well. But that's you taking it another step. You got Chad, Zazel, and Jay got your trust. You took the treat from their hand. Now John and I want to give you some scratches. So now you're expanding that bubble, and that's awesome. If we can be any part of helping somebody that has some anxiety or some depression or any kind of inner conflict, there's no better cause for us to continue doing these than that. I mean, even if we don't get to talk toys, if we just get to do a little public service, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
I'll take it. Yeah, Will, this is very true. This is very true. Where I work, we have kind of a I don't know what you call it. It's whatever the newest version of lean manufacturing is, and it forces you that if you come up with a problem and you report that problem, then you are now part of the team that is going to solve that problem. Because that is too, I don't know, it's too indicative of the human condition, right? Well, everything we've talked about, I'm going to sit here and complain about it, but I'm not going to give you a solution. I'm not going to tell you what would make me happy, because I'm going to be honest, and nothing makes me happy, and I just want to complain because every time I walk by that yellow stripe on the wall, it's peeling off. Could I go get some tape and get permission to fix the stripe? Sure, but nah, I'm just going to bitch about it.
Yeah, there's a big difference between complaining and then the next level of offering solutions. If I'm not willing to offer a solution, I probably won't complain openly about it.
Right. I will openly critique a product that I'm not happy with. I will critique it. I'll say there's things I don't like. Like every toy I think I've ever had, there's something I didn't like about it.
Sure.
But you can't, but that's true. That's true with food. As we were talking about food earlier. That's true with food. Like, I got a Mexican place that I really like to go to, and sometimes the service isn't as great as it was last time, and maybe the fajitas, had more tomatoes in them than I thought they should have had. But I'm gonna go back.
Yeah.
It was just a bad experience, but it doesn't mean I'm going to never go there again. I'm going to go scorched earth on Facebook and tell everybody what a crappy place it is to eat, because, this place didn't fill one of the crab rangoons as full as I thought it should. I mean, that's crazy, man. You just got to move on. And Jeff, yes,
Yeah.
this is exactly right. Keep your circle of friends small.
Your inner circle should be tight.
I have been in industry for a long time. I have maybe 4 or 5 people over 30 years of working in that same industry that I still want to contact and still contact, as much as I can. Those are the guys and girls that, if something happened, I'd still have their back, even though I don't work with them anymore,
Sure.
But for me, it's always been difficult to make that connection deep enough that I would want to keep it,
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
we brought up the,
Yeah.
Well.
Well, now that you mention it, the one I've come up with, and it's a work in progress, but that, for the time being, is my Mitchell Grant. And that's just a dyed mole rat body. I've done no painting there, and the boots I removed so that paint is still there. But this helmet here, I want to get that cast because it's pretty perfect for that application. But yeah, that's him there.
Oh yeah, Mikey. Speaking of that, before you get that thing cast, you might want to wait till my Blender project over here is done.
Yeah, that's probably true. Jeff, thank you very much, man. I have a hard time. This is probably shock to most people, but I have a hard time engaging with people on a personal level at first, but once you get past my thin pistachio shell, the jewel inside is quite worth it, I think.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, I'm a pistachio, if you didn't know that. Dude, it was awesome getting to meet and engage with you and hang out. That was really awesome, and Will, we appreciate that. We try to
Thank you, Will.
The dude abides.
Hey, speaking of the Firefox helmet, he makes me laugh too. That's why I keep him around.
Solid.
So a lot of people don't know this, but the Firefox helmet is is a shell helmet. It's a HGU 20/P helmet, a Vietnam era helmet. There's a very little known movie that is fairly terrible called Deal of the Century with Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase, where they end up getting an airplane. And one of the Firefox helmets got repainted for Richard Pryor to wear it as the pilot of that plane.
Wow. That is
so there are still a few examples of that out there. I'm trying to think of the company that made it. It's not a Genax or Gentex. It's not that. It's Richard Shaw, I think, is the company that made those helmets, the shells. So that is who provided the props for Firefox.
Interesting. I always thought it looked more like a racing helmet than a high pressure space helmet.
It's a Vietnam era pressure helmet. Yeah. So, but in Deal of the Century, it's painted white with gold stripes on it. It's pretty crazy. So, Gregory Hines, yeah, that's who it was. It's Gregory Hines. I remember that. What was his name? Because I think he gets it painted on his helmet. On the helmet, I think it has his name.
I've not heard of that. That's surprising.
Yeah, it's that helmet just painted white. Somebody had purchased that prop in a lot of other helmets, and he was asking if that was the same helmet, and he showed that the paint had chipped off, and it was black underneath. The originals were all white, so
wow,
that's how they came from the factory.
Yes, you could. Probably a Robo Skull too.
Actually, that the TIE Fighter suit is very close to the suit that they used in Firefox. It would be awesome if it turned out it was the same suit, but it's not. It doesn't have the
that would be cool.
Wide side pockets and all that. But yes, yes, that is the movie. I forgot it was Gregory Hines, but it was.
Very cool.
But it's
I've got something that I saw yesterday. Go ahead and finish. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say it's called a clamshell helmet because the front and back actually open like this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I got something I saw yesterday on the interwebs, and it was pretty cool. Want to share this. I don't know how many people have seen this, but I stopped in my tracks for sure.
I saw this.
Did you see this?
God.
So if this would have been 1/12 scale, I would have. I think I'd have one ordered, but it's a model kit. It's 1/8. It's 1/8 scale. There you go. But it's the Ford Falcon XB GT from Mad Max Road Warrior. I'm a big fan of this car because I love the Ford Falcons of Australia. I think those are so freaking cool. They're based on the 70-71 Torinos.
Yep.
I guess 70 Falcon as well because it's just a notchback version of the Torino. But this is so freaking cool. So from what I understand, it's a model kit, and you order it here. Comes with a bunch of cool stuff, and then
what
issues
scale is
to,
it? 1/18?
to do. It's 1/8, 1/8 scale.
Lord.
It's huge.
That is a chunk.
Yeah, it's a beast. Now the Dios, it's a little weird because that seems super small, very narrow roadway, but.
Yeah, but it still
Look
fits
at
on a
look
shelf.
at that freaking beauty. Oh my gosh. Super cool. So if anybody's, a fan of that, get that kit, because dang, that is cool. Yeah, I was just scrolling through Instagram last night. I was laying in bed and I saw this and I was like, oh my God, is that 1/12?
Yeah.
No, it's not even 1/6. It's 1/8. Very
That's too
strange
bad,
scale.
because Dawn Man, I think it was this month, had the Mad Max Mel Gibson head.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Sick, dude. He does some really greats. He's come a long way, man.
Yeah,
His faces are great.
yeah.
His ears and stuff. Oh my word. Look at the detail. Glorious. It's a little too clean, I think.
Lilith was that,
Yeah.
so 78, that would have been the same body, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 78 should, yeah, I think so. That's amazing. That's super cool.
Because you guys used that a lot longer than we got to. Kind of like the
Yeah, we got 2 years. I want to say they had like 6 years with that body. But yeah, that XTB GT, that is so cool. Right, dude? That is bad, dude. Now that you could make a killer Dio with that, man. That would be sweet. Yeah, cut through. I think that is because I think that is the I think that's the same company if I'm not mistaken. I've never seen one of those in the flesh or anything, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Lilith says 8 years.
yeah.
Yeah, so cool. I love them. I saw that and I was like, oh no. Yeah. And it's die cast. That's cool. I didn't see that before. That's rad, man.
Roll back up.
Anyway.
What is the size on that thing?
I
It's
think it's like
25
60
centimeters wide.
wide.
Good Lord. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. Huge. But man, that is glorious. Good night. That's cool.
Get you a small glass coffee table, and just put that underneath it.
Oh yeah, man, like a giant shadow box. Yeah, that's.
I don't know what they
so
cost.
I had
It'd
to
probably be worth buying an $80 table at a thrift shop to put it in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Anyways, I saw that last night on Instagram and I was like, we got to talk about that. That's too cool, man. Too cool. It's a weird scale, but man,
Yeah,
what a piece.
That Back to the Future car was pretty sweet. They did too. Right? See, Legend or Cutthroat just said that, but yeah, I mean it's. Ooh.
Whoa. That'd be pretty rad. A badge would be pretty damn cool. I've got a few badges of cars of the past. I know you've hung on to some as well. You got to keep a memento from each car. You know, it's important.
Yeah. Even if it's not that car, but just having, I'd feel bad if I sold a car and been like, hold on a second, and just popped an emblem off.
Popped a badge off. Easier now than it used to be.
Yeah.
You don't have the little nuts to hold on the badge. It's a
just heat it up and peel it off.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I mean, it'd be a cool American version of it. You could have the Dodge Charger, kind of a post-apocalyptic. That would be a pretty rad kit for that Charger. That would be pretty sick.
There's several things that they'll be able to do with that'll be fun, I think.
Yeah, and I heard the other day that he's going to release it with like a little more bare bones, and I think that's awesome. What a idea. I mean,
yeah, then you can just choose your upgrade kit how you want it.
Yeah, and I love what he's doing with the bread vans. I mean, that Punisher one that's got the slotted glass, and God, that's so cool. So cool.
Yeah,
and you and me are both a big fan of Mopar B bodies. There's one in the garage right now. But yeah, so the Charger, obviously that speaks to you, and being able to swap out parts and make it different years, very, very clever, very clever. Cutthroat's got a. Chris asked, was there ever a classified figure kit bash that frustrated you to finish off the look you were going for? Yeah, there's been a handful. I take the approach. So when I was a kid, I read this article about Alex Ross. And if you're not familiar with Alex Ross, he's a painter that's done a lot of DC, but he also did a lot of Marvel stuff too, especially for the Marvels book. It's just very, very realistic painting. So I am a huge fan of his, and so this is the small book, and this is just full of postcards. But this is Alex Ross style. Um, so I was reading an article about him and how long it takes him to paint stuff because he gets to a certain point and he sets it aside and he leaves it alone, starts another project, and then sometime later he pulls it back out. And that gives you an opportunity to clear your mind and think of other solutions. But it also helps you see some faults. And with drawing and painting, that's more prevalent. You know, you see the vanishing point on a vehicle isn't quite right, or something's tweaked. So it gives you kind of a fresh look before you finish it and realize it when it's done. So with customs, sometimes I'll take that approach too. If I get to a point where I get frustrated or I'm not seeing the results that I thought I would, typically that's what I do. And so that's why a lot of the stuff on my shelves back here that are customs are partially finished, because I've set them aside and I'm waiting
some
for
piece you're missing
that you don't know. You don't know what it is yet. You can't figure it out because you're too involved in it. You just got to step away a little bit.
I gotta highlight this one. Yes.
That is true.
A couple of years ago, I traded my Scat Pack Charger for an Elantra. What is it? Inline, or it's an whichever not the highest one. And I do love the amount of money that I save in insurance and fuel. And I do love it does perform very well for a little 4-cylinder car, but man, I miss that Scat Pack startup. I do.
Yeah.
I do. There is nothing like a V8. You can tweak a V6 all you want, but nothing's like a V8.
Yep. That's the
And
truth.
yes, Alex Ross is one of the greatest artists of our generation. He has taken something that a lot of people dismiss because it's pop culture and creates true art from it. And he uses that by using real world models, and to make the shadow correct. His color placement is beautiful. It's some of the best art ever. I will agree. I mean, he's I would put him in the same class as Frazetta easily. Just a different medium,
Yeah, it's great stuff. So that article's always stuck with me. Mython, have a good day, sir. I appreciate
Good day, man.
Joining, man. And absolutely, dude. You keep doing what you're doing, because we're all fans of that. Love you, buddy. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely, man. Glad you get something out of it. Maybe just a little entertainment or a little support. If that's what you get out of it. Like I said, I'm good with that.
Yeah, we talked in one of the other episodes about how we came up with the space troopers with the Buzz Lightyear body. Don't dismiss other toy lines. There may not be a head. The head may be too small or too big. Even if it just gives you an idea, like, wait a minute, I could pull that off. I could actually use that part off of this character, or this, off of this one. I keep joking with Mikey. I need to get a Tomax and Zaymont to mess with, because I have some ideas of kind of come to me about what I could do with their parts. And
Yeah.
and so they're very cheap. They're very cheap.
Yeah. I wish I would have bought more than, well, I didn't buy any of them deliberately, but I've ordered lots of figures and stuff, and so far in all the lots I've ordered, I've only acquired 2 of them. And one I traded to Chris there, and the other one is being turned into a Snake Plissken. So that's a Tomac Zaymont torso that I've had to fill in the neck and add the zippers, but I'm finally getting it to where the seam is vanishing. It's taken a few coats of surface filler, the Tamiya surface primer, the liquid stuff. I just kind of
good
dab it in with a Q-tip, and that gives me kind of a Bondo to sand off and make the seam vanish. But yeah, and then you've got bare arms. I've seen some people do some pretty cool stuff with the legs, like some of the later like Storm Shadow versions where he's kind of armored up and stuff. I've seen some cool stuff, and I kind of regret not picking up a couple of them when I saw them at Ross for $6, but
Yeah, me too. Me too. At that time, I was kind of purging out some of my classified stuff, so I didn't worry about it. But now I'm, trying to find lots and things like that to work on things for our show and other little projects.
Sure.
And the more you do it, and the more you get a successful result from one of those, brainstorms, is you tend to look at things. Mikey and I, we were talking about, we both love cars, and we're the kind of guys that could see some piece of crap in a field with a tree growing out of it and be like, I know what you could be,
Yeah.
And you get, and in cars, we've messed with a lot of cars, and that is an easy trap to fall into. And you end up spending so much more than you'll ever get out of it. But when you love it and you saw it and you had that vision of it, you just follow the vision. And I just take that same concept and apply it to a Fortnite figure, and you're like, oh, I think I could do something with some of those pieces.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot out there, and there are some older lines that were 1/12 scale before 1/12 scale was really coming into its own that have some pretty good parts. So, there's a lot out there.
Yeah. And never underestimate what a different color can do to something. Like, you see those Fortnite figures, and I know Legend was talking about it in his stream. But those Fortnite figures, they scale really well, but they've got cartoony colors, and you can really do a lot with changing a color, applying a wash, adding a camo print on top of a existing mold color, and I tell you, with those Fortnite figures, they're so cheap. Get them and just try some stuff out.
Yeah.
Just
if you're not sure about
figure, paint it up. Try something new. Try something you don't want to risk having to clean off of a project that you're doing. You want to use a different kind of paint, but you're not sure how it's going to settle with the soft plastic. Try it on a cheap figure. Try it out on a cheap vehicle. Dollar Tree. Get one of those. What are they called? Final Faction at Dollar Tree. Get some of that stuff. G it up. Wilhelm talks about that stuff all the time. It's really cool. It's got great detail. I mean,
yeah, they have some really cool accessories. That
really
line,
cool accessories.
I would love to see that line in 1/12 scale.
Oh man, that would be rad, especially with the little robot dudes. Oh, dude, that would be rad. I would love that.
Don't discount. If you do go to Ollie's and all they have is Star Wars figures, look at them. $6, you might get a cool holster or a shoulder setup, or they are a little smaller than classified. But a lot of those pieces work just like Marvel Legends when they do a Shield figure or something like that with all the accessories, man. There's one thing I have found on some of the customs that I've been working on is there are a few that I want to do that have yellow gear. Well, the
Mhm.
shield gear is white, so it's easily dyed or painted yellow.
Yes. Yes. Very easy. I've been using to dye small pieces. So like the Destro I'm working on for Legend series, I've been doing small batch dyeing. So I've been using this little shot glass, putting dye in it, putting water in it, heating it up, and then dropping like hands, and then just keeping the heat gun on it for just a few minutes, and then turn the joint so it dyes the unexposed part. Dude, this works so well. I just use that synthetic RIT dye,
Hmm.
just a little cap of it maybe, and then just water 3/4 the way, heat it up, keep it warm, drop your part in there. So if you're just doing like a holster or like I said, hands, because those shield packs, the 3-pack that came with the Nick Fury and Dum Dum and Charon, tons of extra hands. They're all white. Well, you get some brown dye, you get green dye, black dye. You can do so much with it, and that's super, super easy to do there.
Yeah.
But that's just the next step in the customizing stuff. Talked about kit bashing, dye and paint's only the next logical step. I don't think he's gonna like that very much. I don't think he's gonna like that very much. He does like this one classified figure though.
It is Chad.
Yeah, it definitely is. So there's a little more than a kit bash there, but you know, that's that guy. You guys know that rascal. Um, so I don't think he's gonna like a first lady, but I told him he's definitely part of the cabinet. Probably DOD. That would make the most sense, I think. Yeah.
Not near me
Right.
either.
Yeah, he's gotta come see me to go to an Ollie's.
The closest Ollie's is 3 hours away, no matter which direction I drive.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what kind of discount stores exist in Australia or New Zealand or anything like that, but there's
Yes,
got to be
they
there's
are.
got to be something to try out. Thanks, buddy. But yeah, if you're wanting to get into it, man, that's got to be the way to get your foot in the door and just try some stuff out, man, because that's the only way to improve the craft is doing it, and maybe we can help a little bit with tips and tricks. So,
Absolutely.
well, we're coming up on 3 hours, so we'll wrap this up.
Thank you to
And the
everybody that showed up. We appreciate it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. We're so appreciative of you guys tuning in, engaging with us. Um, I was prepared for no audience because we're going live at 9 a.m. Central. Um, but to have you guys be here and engage with us, it means a lot to us. And we're very, very appreciative that you came in. Yeah, if you guys would hit the like button, that'd be super.
Subscribe, all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we said this last time, but we want to get a little more regular schedule on this. So we want to do these more often because Dad and I really get a kick out of it, and we love engaging with all y'all. So we'll continue to work on that. Get a little more regular with this stuff. I think we said maybe like every 2 weeks or maybe at least monthly, and see if we can share some knowledge, get some feedback, and help each other out, man. That's what the community is all about, right?
Absolutely.
So, Pop, you got anything you wanna promote or anything you wanna shout out or? Anything
I don't
cool you
think
got that
so.
you want to show off?
I did finish probably my favorite of the Star Brigade homages.
Easy, big guy.
I know.
Stood up too fast.
I did. This one. Still working out the head on that, but that is the last version of Ozone in the burgundy suit, and that was a Pimp Daddy Destro body.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, that's awesome, man. Really nice work. Yes, indeed. Well, we appreciate you guys. I'll be talking to Legend Series on Thursday. We're gonna do a talking toys. I'm really looking forward to that. I think he puts those out a couple of days later. So be on the lookout for that. If you're not subscribed to his channel, definitely do. There's another guy that gives you really solid tips and tricks. Especially if you're a member, you get a little sneak peek, little peek behind the curtain. Shout out to everybody that helps me promote this. Patrick, you made that post this morning, greatly appreciated.
Very cool.
Very cool. Got to pull it out with the promo with Chad. I always appreciate him. He's a good guy, close, very dear friend. But you guys, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you have a great day. Get out there and get some kit bashing done. So until next time, you have a good one. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Eat my short.
Go fuck yourself. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Flush that turd down the drain.
Avenge me! Avenge me!
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
That worked out. I'll be right back. I gotta pee.